Hello and welcome to episode 33 of the Gamers of the Lost Spark podcast. I'm your host Darren Whittam, and joining me this week it's the other Spark on the pod. We're very lucky to have him because from what I've heard he's picked his life back up after visiting a therapy kibbutz in deepest Tibet, after nearly losing his humanity, after relinquishing his soul in Life is Strange, but he's picked up the pieces. He's back with us. It's Anthony Chesson, rehumanised.
Holy moly, I feel like I've gone through the ringer.
You've been through the ringer, yeah. Shameful decisions needed time and therapy. Yeah, that's what I heard.
Oh, absolutely. It was quite funny, actually. There was a couple of, kind of James and I are still kind of chatting about that. There was a couple of things on Twitter today where we were just like, I still can't believe you did that. I love Life is Strange. I keep seeing it on my pins. You know, on the Xbox you can pin your game. I keep seeing it on my pins, and I just wish I could do it all again. You know, I wish I could go through it again. I even started looking at other Telltale games that maybe I haven't played, you know, and it's really interesting just how much that game has kind of resonated with me. But I did see today on the Xbox Dash that we got Gone Home is now available. So maybe that might be something not as good as Life is Strange, or not as the same as Life is Strange, but might give us something. Yeah,
you never know. Another emotional challenge.
Another emotional challenge. So speaking of emotional challenges, how are you, sir?
I'm all right. I've been a bit tired because I had my nephews round over the weekend. They arrived on Friday,
right?
And so I was entertaining them with games because that's what they're into.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we were up till about 3 a.m.
Wow.
on Saturday morning playing stuff. And then Saturday it was a bit of a write-off because Sam got up at 6 a.m. So I went to bed at like 3:30, and it was like, get up at 6. It's like, it's hard. So staggered blindly through Saturday with more gaming, and then they went on Sunday, and I was just like, oh my goodness me, it's taken me till now to wake up from that gaming days. But that was really fun. Yeah. So what did they have to say about games? I'm trying to think. They're selling Star Wars Battlefront. And I was like, why? And they said, we don't play it much. It's like, fair enough. What are you going to sell it for? And they surprised me with their answer of Rainbow Six Siege.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I scoffed, obviously. I was like, you what? What are you getting that for? And then the elder one, Lucas, he said, well, my mate's got it. And he said it's really fun. And I was like, well, if your mate's got it, fair enough. But yeah. I was surprised because these guys, they're into Star Wars. They've been into Star Wars since birth. But they're going to let it go. It hasn't hooked him in. And one of them, the older one, Lucas again, he's played Destiny like a lot. He's put a lot of hours into that. So it's not that he can't stick with the game or anything. It's just because it hasn't got his hooks into them.
Wow.
Yeah, Lucas and Alex, it hasn't got them into it that much. And I was a bit surprised. And we had a chat about this as well. I mean, I haven't played it for a little while, but I'm happy knowing it's there. You know,
yes.
I wouldn't get rid of it because I know if I want to play it, which will happen again, it's just that I've got a bit of a backlog, that I can play with you, and they can sort of play it as in as close to the Star Wars universe as possible, which is what I like that. So I couldn't get rid of it unless there was a better experience that came out. For me, it's the best way you can play it on the current gen. The only thing that would tempt me sort of is a bit of Rogue Leader on GameCube, but that hasn't got. It's got better flight control, but it's just, obviously it just doesn't look as beautiful. So if I want to enter into a beautiful, shiny Star Wars world, then I need to keep that. I couldn't let that game go.
No, absolutely. I feel exactly the same, and I've got it on digital. I now have it on digital on both platforms, on both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And I'm the same as you. I just like to know that it's just a button press away, and it is quite funny because I think your nephews are right. I think it is where your friends are, and and you and I, we can jump in. There's quite a lot of friends that are over on PlayStation 4 that have it, and I've now started kind of playing with quite a few people on Xbox One as well. So my brother, who lives in Canada, he got an Xbox One for his birthday at the weekend. So when he got Star Wars Battlefront, he got Star Wars Battlefront Edition. So we started playing it. So we started playing it, which was fantastic because it means I can kind of catch up with my brother and my nephew, and we can just kind of play it. And it was just I had a game on Monday. The only thing that's a bit of a crippler is the kind of time difference, but luckily where he lives at the moment, it's kind of only about 4 or 5 hours. So it's not too bad. I was only up till about 1 o'clock on Monday playing it. So it's I kind of feel that kind of best of both worlds now for me. I can just kind of flip flop. I think the only problem I have is that obviously I have different stats. So my PlayStation 4 character's quite high up. I've got all of the unlocks. I go over to Xbox One, and that character's got nothing. I had to kind of level up to get that hand. So I might just kind of play on the Xbox as well, and just try and get that kind of character's level up, or me leveled up, I should say.
Wow, that's amazing, man. I thought I was the king of games, but I bow to the indulgence of having the same game on both platforms. I don't think I've ever done that.
No, me neither. I don't think I've ever. And it is just like, and it's the pain where you've just got like I say, I have got a group of friends on PlayStation 4. I've got a group of friends on Xbox. And it's just really interesting that I'm now kind of like just flip flopping between that, and it's confused the hell out of my Battlefront app because it doesn't know who to tell me who's online. It's like. I keep getting notifications going, sign in, it's not working, this person's online, so it's just quite funny. So it is a bit indulgent, but
and benevolent as well. It's benevolent because you didn't want people to miss out on a bit of Chesham, and so you provided them with it. No one's going to lose out on a bit of gaming time with you.
No, absolutely.
I think this sets a precedent from here on in.
It really does, and I didn't do it with Destiny because the reason why I did it with Battlefront is I think that Battlefront is, like I say, it's not as you're not as personally attached to the character. My character in Destiny, I've put over 100 hours into that. I've had some friends who have bought a PlayStation 4. They're thinking about, some of them are playing Destiny. And as much as I'd like to jump in and help them, and maybe do a raid, because I've never done a raid, I just can't do it because that's a lot of time, where Star Wars Battlefront isn't that much time to just kind of, even from my noob level 1 on Xbox One, I could just jump in and still have a ton of fun.
Yeah, wow. Absolutely.
So that's been my week, kind of.
Yeah, that's good.
Doing that.
That's our week sorted, isn't it? Really.
Well, exactly. I mean, the great thing was it was down to £35 on Xbox One, and B, I had some money in my Microsoft wallet because of the digital games that I bought. The whole kind of lineup of last year. I had some of that cash in my wallet, so it wasn't too much. By the time I kind of there was a discount, and B, that money that was there, I ended up paying $19.99 or something like that for Star Wars Battlefront, which is a steal, really, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, absolutely. I suppose on that note, we should go into what else have you been playing, mate?
We really should. We should just jump into that. So this week I've been playing. You'll be pleased to know, Daz. I finished a couple of games this week, but this week I've been playing. I started playing Volume on the PlayStation 4 and Vita. So that's Mike Biffle's new game, Volume. Now this has been out for a while on PlayStation 4, but they announced that the Vita, which was supposed to come out, the Vita version that was supposed to come out with it, didn't come out. They needed a bit more dev time, and that came out last week. And I was really waiting to play this on my Vita because I'd seen screenshots, I'd seen interviews, and I just thought this would be really cool on the Vita. So I waited until then. Was in London on Friday, so I kind of made sure it was all done, all sorted. So I started playing Volume on the train. Instantly fell in love with this game, and it's quite funny because I fell in love with the game, and then I realised that would look awesome on a big screen. So I was like, I've been waiting all this time for it to come out on Vita. Then when it does come out on Vita, I think, actually, do you know what? This is a really good game. I could really do with playing this on the big screen. So the great thing about this is it's cross-play, cross-buy. So, I bought it on the Vita, I get it on the PS4, and I can upload and download my saves. And it's fantastic. It's such a great game. As with any Mike Biffle game, the writing is incredible. It's funny. The voice acting is Andy Serkis does one of them, and it's really good. The game, if you will, think of it as the VR missions from Metal Gear Solid.
Right, yeah.
So you have to kind of creep. You have these simulations that you have to kind of creep around, and obviously because of the title Volume, a lot of the sound does kind of take into play. It sounds incredible with headphones on. Because to start off with, I was just on the train and I was listening to a podcast and I was playing volume, and I thought, actually, do you know what? I want to see what this game sounds like. And once I plugged my headphones in, that was it. I was totally hooked, because it's got such a great sound. It's got a dangerous sound when you're found, when the guards spot you. It goes crazy. You know, the whole screen goes crazy, and it's such a great game. I can't wait. I'm back in London again on Friday, and I cannot wait to just kind of jump in and just kind of play some more volume.
It smooths the commute for you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where I jumped on the train at Tunbridge Wells, started playing volume, but before I knew it, you know, I was at Cannon Street, and I love when that happens, because you're just so into the game. So yeah, by all accounts, I think there's 100. There's 100 of these levels in the box, but there's also a way of building your own levels as well. So there's a bit of that kind of build and share mentality in the game as well.
Wow, it sounds really cool. I love it when you get so engrossed that you don't notice you stop. Well, as long as you're aware of it to get off.
Yes.
But twinned with that is always that. I just settled into it now. I'm in the zone. I could play this for hours now, but I've got to break it and go into the drudge. It's such a shame.
It really is. It really is. It's just kind of. But it was great to, like I say, on the way home, it was great that I was kind of playing it, and there was a level that was a little bit tricky. So what I did was, when I got home, I fired it up on the PS4. I actually, do you know what? Instead of uploading my save, I just started again on the PS4, because I enjoyed the levels that I went through. I just thought, I wonder if I could beat them. I wonder if I could do better. So I just kind of had a go on the PlayStation 4, and it was just so great. It was so nice to be able to do that. You know, it's so nice to be able to just kind of get through your door, and if I wanted to, I could just upload and download that save. So you just have that little break when, especially on the way home, you know, the little break from the train, got, as you say, drudge through, and then get home and just start playing it. It kind of made me wish and hope that maybe this is what the NX is going to be. You know, that, you know, I'd be on the train.
That seamless crossover.
Yes, absolutely. You know, that I'd be on the train playing Mario or playing Zelda or whatever, and then I just kind of come into the house, dock it, boom, it's on my big screen, and then off we go.
Wow, that would be cool, but it's not unique, is it? Because you've sort of got it already with PS4, so it could do that. But there's got to be something else as well that it does. That we don't know about.
Yeah, there really has. So I've been playing that. So like I say, that is absolutely fantastic. I'm really enjoying it. You know, it's the protagonist is a chap called Alan. He's played by Danny Wallace again. I don't know if you've played when Thomas was alone, because he'd
only a little bit. It's another one that I really want to play. I love these indie games. There's so many indie games I want to play.
Thomas was alone. It was one of those games that really just surprised me. I just kind of, a lot of people were talking about it. There was this kind of zeitgeist about it, so I just was like, right, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna find out what and I just was absolutely just loved it. You know, for a game that's just a load of blocks, it's very bizarre, but and like I say, it's another game that needs to be played, you know, listening to the sound. And I do find that occasionally that I play games listening to podcasts or music, and you know, and there are some games that you need to appreciate that sound, because the sound really does make a game, you know. And I kind of got into that bad habit when I was playing games like Forza or things like that, you know, and then I started doing it with other games as well, and I really should stop doing that. So yeah, so I've been playing Volume, I've been playing Star Wars Battlefront, as I was talking about before. I finished Call of Duty Black Ops 3.
Yay.
Tick. I had no idea what that story was about. I haven't taken the disc back to game yet, because I may be playing with my nephew Will. I might have a go with my nephew Will, where I play a bit of zombies or play the nightmare mode. So I'm going to try and see if I can get him away from whatever old Call of Duty game he's playing at the moment, to play the latest and greatest. But the story, I did tweet about it because it did make me chuckle, but the story just kept ending and ending. You get to an end, and then there was, oh no, but there's one more ending, and you just kept, it was like the last Lord of the Rings movie, you know. It was like the last 3 levels, they were like, every single one of them was like, oh, this has got to be the end of the game, this is it, and they were like, no, you got another one. So
sounds like a JRPG.
It really was, honestly. It was like, no, now you got to go and do this, no, you got to do this. But like I say, I kind of get what was happening, but it was just bonkers. It was really, I'll be interested to see what they're going to do next with Call of Duty. You know, as I think we've debated a couple of times on this podcast, that we really would love them to go back to, World War II and maybe just kind of get a simpler time, a less bonkers storyline.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Or even if they removed weapons, I don't know if they could do that really because of what the expectation there. But if they went to just sort of like a Tenchu sort of model, but done in the Call of Duty style, so you were a ninja, silent, stealth. I know that's not Call of Duty at all, but just let's rip the rug from under it and just completely reboot it. Just completely reboot it.
Absolutely. Or maybe, even do what Assassin's Creed did, that we learned last week, that Assassin's Creed is giving it a year, skip a year. Could Activision afford to have Call of Duty skip a year?
I'm sure the coffers could stand it.
I don't know. The amount they're spending and the things they're buying, they need...
It's like they've got a money leak.
Yeah, exactly. They need all the money they can get. But, so I played that, finished that, and then the final game, the awesome game that I've been playing this week, and I use that word, the true meaning of the word is Transformers Devastation. We were in love with Transformers Devastation when we heard about it at E3 at the early part of this year. I think both you and I, and also James, we all bought it when it first came out, and it was just sitting there in my pile of shame. It was just one of those games that I hadn't got round to playing. So I just decided to start playing it. Once I finished kind of Life is Strange and Black Ops, I was like, do you know what? I quite fancy Transformers. Started it again from the start because I was having a little problem with the very first boss, and I wasn't I think I forgot the controls. So I started it again, and off I went, and I just played Transformers Devastation until I finished it. And oh, what an amazing game. It was just so great. It was the combos, the graphics, the sound. Again, this is another one that I needed to listen to the sound. It was an amazing game. A very good platinum game as well.
Yeah. I love that game. It's a great game.
Hey, you've been playing that as well, haven't you, this week? I
have, yeah. You finished it, and then when you messaged me and said, I've just finished Transformers Devastation, I felt the shame, and I went over to my dusty pile, and I was like, there it is, and there's nothing wrong with this game. I was like, oh, and I was like, right, come on, let's play a bit, because I was thinking to myself, I'm a fair way through. It can't take much to finish the story. So I was like, Anthony's done it, I've got to do it. So I popped it in and just started playing it as well. You inspired me, so I popped it in. And I'd forgotten how to play it. And I was like, come on, there's Witch Time here from Bayonetta. I remember. So I died a few times while I was just trying to remember how to dodge. And then I just fell into it. And it was like, I was doing the combos, trying my best to sort of Witch Time it up, if you like, to make those dodges and go and then slow time down and then flurry in with more combos. And it's hard. It's hard to sort of perceive those blows coming a lot of the time from some of the robots. It's hard to see. So I got hit a few times, and it was good. And I just fell into a flow of it, and I really enjoyed myself. And I was just battling through the entire game. But because I felt pressed for time, I did something that I don't think I've ever done, and I skipped all the cutscenes. Right. So for me, it was just like an endless battle from the point that I joined in from where I'd left off. I think I was on like mission 3. And I think there's 6, so I was probably about halfway through.
Right, okay.
And so I jumped in, and I was just like, right, I ain't got time for the cutscenes. I need to get closure. So it manifested itself to me as if it was just a massive battle. So I decided I was going to be okay with not getting invested so much in the story, and it was just like hold square, and all of a sudden there was more Decepticons or Constructicons.
Or Insecticons.
Thank you. I knew you were going to help me out to fight, and I loved it that way. It was just like as soon as I'd get killed, come back. It was like a.
It's like a Transformers beat 'em up, isn't it?
It is it's like an underdog story as well. Because I get slapped to the floor, and I come back with the continue, and I try again, and I flurry away, and then I succeed, and then I started to remember, get my game again, and then I'd hold square, just skip the story, and then it was just like instantly more appeared, and it's like, right, bring it on and fight, and I just fought. I spent I think it was probably about 3 hours all in, which doesn't sound a lot, but I was being very direct as well. I wasn't looking for any extra stuff, wasn't exploring. I was just going from A to B and fighting, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And then it got pretty tough towards the end.
Yes.
I was starting to think, oh dear, like you fight. There was 2 big guys. I forget what they're called.
Yeah,
because you've got to fight loads on the way to Megatron, haven't you? You're trying to get to Megatron, and he's got all these henchmen.
You really do.
And you fight. So I loved that. I loved going through sort of levels of bosses like that. It's like Shadow of the Colossus in a way. And I was just fighting through these bosses, and then I got to these 2 massive ones. Can't remember what they were called. And I thought that might have been too tough, but I managed to do it. And it's quite generous because it has sort of save points, doesn't it? Yeah. If you get a cutscene as you're fighting a boss, it sort of carries on from there. So that's quite good. And then then got to Megatron and had the final battle with him, which then carried on into space, and that was really cool. At one point, I couldn't find him because it was sort of all freeform with the camera, and I was like, "Where's he gone?" And I was just getting hit, and I couldn't find him, and I was getting annoyed. And then I watched the last bit, I sort of tried to piece together the entire story that I'd missed from the last cutscene. And then what I did do is I thoroughly enjoyed the song that it sang at the end, Transformers Devastation. It was so like 80s rock. I loved that. And then just watched the credits roll, which is always a tradition for me. I always watch the credits roll, and just thoroughly enjoyed myself and thought, yes, that's off the list.
Yeah,
and then I texted you and said, I did it.
I was so shocked. I was like, what? So that was really good. I must admit, though, that final song I did, I kind of I turned up the surround sound downstairs when I was playing that. Luckily, I wasn't playing. I didn't finish it late on in the night. I just loved that so much. It was really good. But it's the way you did it sounded like you had such a romp. Sounds like you had such a good time. It's kind of more power to you. I think it's good just to kind of get through it. Experience that game and just enjoy it. And I mean, I think I said to you earlier today, it's one of those games that if I had more time, if there wasn't so many amazing games sitting there waiting to be played, I probably would have gone through the different levels, because every time you finished a mission you unlocked some more, and I probably would have gone back and played it again, because I think there are achievements to play it as different characters.
Yeah, it's a great game, and this is the thing, it didn't deserve to be left. It didn't deserve to be unplayed. And when you sent me that message saying that you'd completed it, I just think it just made me feel, well, shame, I suppose. I was like, there's a fantastic game there. And like you say, if I wasn't so busy with other stuff, I would have played it a lot more leisurely and languished a lot longer within the game. But because I had other pressing games to get on with, I sort of just thought, well, I really want to complete it. I don't want to leave it. But I sort of played it maybe not quite as a speed run, but as a challenge mode. Like a time attack mode, I suppose, which I suppose is the same as a speed run. And it was just like single-minded purpose. Let's get to the end of this game. And I must admit, when I put it on, that was my sole purpose. I was like, I've got to get to the end of this game to get it off the list. But after playing it once I'd worked out the buttons again, after about 5-10 minutes, it wasn't just that. I loved it. I loved the experience, and I just absolutely had a ball playing it. It was great. It was fantastic. I think, I don't know if it would work, but like a beat 'em up with that kind of control set and no lag, I just wonder how well that would work. Because if you can counter the witch time and 2 skilled players, I just think that could be just so much fun.
It really could. And nice big arenas as well. Like you say, like that battle in space at Megatron at the end, or like the big kind of city areas. There would be a nice 3D space with maybe some destruction that you could then use as well. I think that would be an amazing beat 'em up. I think I did think that while I was playing it, because I was just enjoying it so much. The interesting thing, though, the way that you played it is that you must be a hell of a gamer, because I had to make sure that I was playing Optimus Prime all the way through, because that's the only way to go, basically, because he's amazing. But I kept leveling him up. I was adding experience points. I was forging new weapons, and things like that. And you just played through vanilla Prime, and you just nailed it. So hats off to you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. I didn't realise, but yeah, I mean, there was one point, as I say, where there's 2 big ones, and it was towards the end, and
I was like Devastate, not Devastator. I know who you mean. It's the kind of when all of the Constructicons. Yeah, there it is. I think it's Devastator, isn't it? The Constructicons get together.
Yeah, and it looks a bit like Tron as well in there. Sort of Tron 2.0. It reminded me of the sort of the inside that base or whatever it was. And yeah, it popped up, I think, about leveling up, because it does remind us. It's like saying sort it out, you can level up. And I was thinking, actually, I might have to go and visit this and remember how you do this bit, because I'm thinking maybe it's just I'm not high enough level to do it. But I managed to do it, so I was happy. I was on a warrior difficulty, if that means anything. I don't know whether is that like the default?
That's default, isn't it? That's default normal, I think.
So no extra kudos there. But I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, it's a fine game. And this thing, too good to leave. And I've got Bayonetta 2 to play as well, so that it's made me want to play Bayonetta more as well.
I bet. Because it's quite funny, after I finished that, I think you said it as well, after you finished it, it was like, I can't wait for this Turtles game. I can't wait to get hold of Platinum Games' version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, they could just keep rolling them out. I was trying to think what else. I was thinking Dungeons and Dragons would be a good one. I was trying to think of Saturday morning cartoons sort of thing that they could do.
Thundercats.
That's the one, isn't it? Thundercats.
Yeah.
Battle of the Planets.
Yes, Battle of the Planets would be amazing. It's quite funny, they've released Battle of the Planets on Blu-ray, and I am very tempted to get the box set. The only thing that kind of puts me off slightly is that it's going to be 4:3 instead of 16:9, because it's, old school.
Yeah.
And that kind of puts me off slightly, because I've just got all of this big TV, and I don't like it when it's in the middle. It's one of those things, it's a stupid thing to think, but it's just like stopping me from watching like Star Trek Next Generation again and stuff like that, because I wish they could somehow make them 16:9, but I know that's kind of impossible. But yeah, no, Battle of the Planets, Jason the World Warriors, all that sort of stuff. There's a whole back catalogue of stuff that's primed for Platinum Games to get their hands on. But for me, the standout battles were Shockwave and Soundwave.
And the voices as well. I thought the voices of all the characters were just fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. When Soundwave just went ravage, I was just like, goosebumps, dude, goosebumps. I was like, oh my god, I love this game. And it was just, I kept doing that. Nicola kept telling me off because I had my sound cancelling headphones on, so I was probably a little bit loud. When I kept going, I love this game. She's like, shut up, I'm playing The Witcher. So this was really cool, really cool. So what else have you been playing?
What else have I been playing? Oh, actually, just to mention, so you're playing Volume, and presumably the sound features quite prominently in that game.
Yes.
And I was thinking, our friend from last week, Terry Garrett, the blind guy that completed Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
I bet that'd be a great game for him to play.
Oh no, absolutely! Because you can hear like the guards when they're on their when they're on their kind of their little rounds. You can hear them kind of coming, and you can, as you're going past things. And if there was one bit where you had to flush a toilet, so the guard would come, and it's just such an amazing game.
Wow, that sounds good. There's so many games I want to play. You just made me think of another game. Games I want to play right at the moment. There's have you heard of? It's called. Is it Fast Lightning Neo or something? Fast Racing Neo. Fast Racing Neo, I think it's called. It's on the Wii U.
Yep.
This game's like a Wipeout game.
It really is.
It sounds amazing. It's really, really fast. I mean, it's got it in the title.
It's so fast. It's in the title.
It looks cool, man, and I love that sort of game. So that's on my list. I want to play Nuclear Throne. There's a game I heard of the other day called The Beginner's Guide, which is just supposed to be really cool indie game. I don't want to go too much more into it because anything you say about it really spoils it, so I don't know much about it either. I've got games I want to play coming out of my ears. It's doing my head in. But anyway, back to what I have been playing. Rise of the Tomb Raider. Not much more progress made yet due to relatives coming round, and we were all playing Mario Kart and stuff and all sorts of other stuff. My oldest nephew beat me on Mario Kart, and he sort of said a bit of a Star Wars thing. He was like, now I am the master. And I was like, no! But then we had another match and I beat him, and then I beat him again. I sort of had to sit up straight on the chair and everything and concentrate. Sounds really awful. I was like, no way! Most competitive with a 14-year-old. But I succeeded, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not too old yet, brilliant." But we had a race, and we came even actually at the top of the list.
Wow!
We were both even. I was like, I played games with this guy, both my nephews since they were like babies, and I was like, "Oh wow, they're taking over the mantle," which was brilliant, but also made me feel a bit old. So yeah, a bit of Rise of the Tomb Raider, but not very much. So I can't really report any more of what I think about it, apart from what I've said already. And I played a bit of Grim Fandango.
Oh, okay.
Because
it's free, isn't it, on PlayStation Plus?
Yeah, it's current freebie on PS Plus. And the reason I played it was because my other games that I want to play, which are Rise of the Tomb Raider and Metal Gear Solid and Bloodborne, are all not appropriate for daytime playing for me.
Yes.
Because of my little boy. So, but I desperately wanted to play something. And I was really tired, and I just wanted to play something. And I don't know what it was. I just really felt like having a go. I played it years ago when it first came out. Never completed it. And yeah, it's all right. It's good. You can click the right stick down and instantly transform the graphics from the old days to the new. Which are quite
okay, kind of a bit like the Halo Master Chief Collection, for like Halo 1, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so that's quite nice to do, and it's quite impressive that the game must have... I mean, I remember looking at the game back in the day and thinking it looked pretty special. And when you do click back, it's not too bad,
Right,
it holds up well. So I enjoyed that, and I got past the first section, which I was so proud of myself of. So I got into, some jungle area, and I was just really proud about that. And then I stopped playing that for a bit. And also, because I had friends around, I was playing You Don't Know Jack Party Box, which we talked about before. Everybody used their phones, went to the jackbox.tv website, put the room code in, and we all played several party games, and a lot of fun was had by everyone. It was really good.
Oh, fantastic. What games were you playing? Because in that party box, there's quite a few games, isn't there?
We went through them all, but the main one that everybody liked the best was Fibbage.
Right.
Now, I usually like to play You Don't Know Jack, because that's how I was introduced to it, which is a quiz game with questions that are sort of very much kind of riddles. You've got to work out what the question means before you answer it, and it's pretty good. It's pretty fast-paced and stuff. But it's not as relaxed as, say, Fibbage. So in Fibbage, what you do is it's a bit like Blankety Blank, and if you're not ancient like me, or if you're from a different territory than the UK, you may not know what Blankety Blank was, and that was basically a quiz show in which it gives you a sentence. So it will be Anthony and Darren had a real problem getting the Lost Spark podcast out on time because Darren bent over and tripped over his blank, right? Something like that. And it doesn't say blank, it's just got a line. So it brings it up on the screen and on everybody's device. So it brings up that, and that's sort of like... So that's the question it's posing to you. And then everybody who's logged in, I think it's up to 8 people can play. I think it's up to 8. Everybody on your device, your iPad or your iPhone or your Android phone or whatever, you have that, and then it says, right, enter a word.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody enters a word. Now, there's usually an answer to the question as well. There's an actual answer, so it wouldn't be as ambiguous as the example I just gave you. For instance, one of them is like in Massachusetts, they've got a famous toilet where blank sat, something like that. So there's an actual factual answer there, and then everybody puts in their answer. But you just put in whatever. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to put in an answer. You can just decide to put something that's funny, but you get points if people pick your answer. So when everybody's put their answers in, it then displays all the answers on the screen, on the central screen.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have like however many players there will be. There'll be an answer from every player, and there'll be another answer in there as well, which is the correct answer.
Right.
So you sort of try and make people pick your answer, which is a lie, and you get points from it. And it's just so funny because you can put whatever you want in, and because the questions are so ridiculous anyway, the questions can be quite coarse and near the knuckle as it is. So by making your lie quite outlandish, it's not that you can get seen straight away for that. It's not like, oh well, that's obviously not right, because it's just ridiculous, because the answers in the game are absolutely ridiculous anyway. So it's just hilarious, so you just put in whatever you think, and then you get points if people pick your answer. If you pick the right answer, you get extra points, and then it goes round. It just goes round for each person. So How does that... Yeah, no, it just comes up with another question. And it just carries on like that. Once everybody's picked an answer from the list of answers on the screen, it shows you who picked whose lie and what the real answer was. And then it brings up another question, and it goes round again, and that's what it says. Whatever, I can't think of any example questions, but they're pretty funny. It'll be like, went to hospital after slipping on something. Or, you're
all about the slipping.
I'm all about the slipping. I can't think of anything else. I'm all about the slipping. I haven't been slipping on anything. I don't know how it got there. It must have been. I didn't slip. So it just goes on like that, and you probably have to play it to really appreciate it. But it's very, very funny, and it's.
Yeah, I just had a quick Google. One of the questions that came up was the French have a pastry called nuns blank.
That's the thing, yeah, and it's gonna be ridiculous, and everybody just puts their answers in, and they all get displayed, and everyone's just laughing at that, and then you pick an answer, and then it kind of goes. If I picked your answer, it goes no, lie, Anthony's lie, and you're like no, and you're going ha 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 like that bit of trash talk going on, and then sometimes everybody picks everybody's lie. And you can't believe that the real answer's there, and you're just like, I don't even believe it. I thought that would be a lie, and it's just a good game, good party game.
That sounds like such a good crack. Yeah, I actually downloaded it just before Christmas, just in case on Christmas Day, etc. But we ended up doing so many different things kind of on Christmas Day that we never got time to kind of have a bit of a game. So it's just sitting there waiting. So I'll have to get some friends around and get them full of cocktails.
Yeah, get them involved.
Start playing that.
Yeah, and it's so good because you've got your family around, mum and dad can play it because they all play with the device that they're comfortable with, and I think that's the genius of it. And it's so easy. It's just like go to your browser, go to jackbox.tv, and it explains this in the game as well, and just put it, and then when you get to the page, it just says put your name in here. You can put any name you want, and put the room code in, which is on the website. Which is on the game, and you just put that 4-character code in, and then everybody's in. So easy. So easy.
That's so good and such a great idea.
Yeah, there's another one that's similar called Drawful, I think it might be called. It's like draw something.
Right.
Funny thing about that is when you start off, it gives you a blank sort of slate on your device, and you have to draw a character for yourself, draw yourself an avatar. So that's quite funny. And then so everyone has their own avatar, and then it comes up on everybody's device, and it says, right, draw this, and it's as ridiculous things as I got one that says draw a world without weekends. It's sort of that, that weird.
Was that
just
out
a
there.
Sad
Darren?
It was. I drew a world. Well, this is the thing you're drawing on a little bit. I was on the iPad actually, so I had a bit more real estate. But I draw sort of the earth at the bottom and lots of stick men with sad faces. And then it shows that to everybody. And then everybody's got to guess just from the picture what it was you were asked to draw. So they all do their best guesses, and then what happens is it adds in all the guesses from everybody and the correct answer, and then everybody except the person that's drawing it has got to guess what it was. And because everybody's seen something in the art, you get some really good answers from the people because they're sort of
that's really good.
They'll say, oh, I don't know, the whole world in his hands or something, and you think it's just as feasible as the correct answer. And that's really good. And then on that one, you get points if someone picks your answer. You'll get some points, and you get points if you pick the right answer. And the person who's drawn it gets points if people pick the right answer and stuff like that. And that's pretty good. And it doesn't matter if you can't draw because nobody can draw with their finger on one of these things. It's just stickmen really, and it's just that's a good laugh as well. I think that probably went down really well, but Fibbage was the easiest to get to grips with quickest, and it elicited a lot of laughter. It was really good. It's just a shame for the neighbours because I don't think we started playing it till 1 a.m.
Oh no! And then there was raucous laughter. Should have just invited them round.
Should have knocked them up. If you're not awake already. Oh, you weren't awake. Oh, I thought I'd woken you up. Well, anyway, do you want to come round?
Yeah, now that we've woken you up, come round. We don't mind. You can come round in your pyjamas.
You'll always be covered if you do that. If ever you get making raucous noise from 1 a.m. till 3 a.m. on a Saturday morning, just go round the neighbours, knock them up, and invite them round. And I tell you, they'll be laughing just as much as you.
All fun we'll have. And with that, we should get our news section started. And in this week's news section, Amazon Prime is also offering discounts to us gamers. We look at those Xbox versus PS3 sales numbers, and also we're going to look ahead to the games that are coming out in 2016. But first up, we have Firewatch. Now, Firewatch, I think it's kind of on your list, isn't it, Daz, of games that you're looking forward to that you want to play in 2016. It's definitely on mine. I cannot wait for Firewatch. It's got that Ollie Moss look to it. Ollie Moss was the designer of the game, and it just looks incredible. Now they've started to do the PR rounds, and they told there was an interview with them on Gamer Ranks, and they basically told that the game is going to take you about 5 to 6 hours to complete. Now I'm seeing this as kind of a low title anyway, like a low price figure title anyway. You know, I'm thinking, you know, the 1999s, the 1799s kind of pounds game. So this is coming. So it's going to take about 5 to 6 hours to finish. But Niels Anderson, who is the head of the development, basically just said that there is, once you've beaten it, there is a larger area in the park that's off the beaten path, which the player never visits during the story, but it's there and it's open if you're curious. So he's kind of hinting at there could be some, maybe like a new game plus or some extra stuff once you finish the game. They also, in the interview, they also ruled out VR, which I think is a ginormous shame, because this game will lend itself really well to VR. I can just imagine sticking on PlayStation VR and just kind of being immersed in these gorgeous vistas that Ollie Moss has created. So it's a bit of a shame that it's not there. You know, we never know. There could always be a patch, maybe, but at the moment he's just saying, don't get too excited about VR. It's not happening with Firewatch. It's not completely ruled out, he said, but at the moment, you know, it's a very small team, so they're all of their efforts are in just getting this game out and getting the game to us. And so that's kind of where we are with Firewatch. It's coming out on PlayStation 4 and PC on February the 9th. Same day as Unravel. So we've got two amazing games on the same day, but it's coming out on February the 9th. So, I mean, I'm 5 to 6 hours, you know, at the moment, that's fine with me.
Yeah, it's plenty of time to enjoy the experience, isn't it? I suppose it just depends on the price point. For 5 to 6 hours in a game like that, if it's got no other sort of, I know they've said there's this extra bit, but I think $12.99 is fair price. But like you say, it may be reaching up to the sort of £20 mark. I suppose we'll see. It's one of those games that at E3 it was like, yeah, I want this. As soon as I saw that sort of sizzle trailer, I was like, this is a game. I love the stylisation and I love that aesthetic. And it's surprising about the VR, because it seems so suited, doesn't it? It's got a slower pace. You know, it's got that sort of slow pace that would, you think, fit just right. But it could be, as you sort of allude to there, small team. You know, there's probably not that much cash. They put all the cash into getting the game finished and out there. If it's a success, or if it's successful enough, then the next stage may be to link it with a bit of a VR patch, and maybe that VR patch could hook in with this extra territory, or indeed maybe let you explore the game in VR, because I'm sure it seemed to have kind of a sedate sort of pace. It didn't seem like a you blister through it like a Call of Duty game, did it?
No, it definitely does. It definitely kind of it's along there with like Everyone's Gone to the Rapture and games like that, where it's definitely kind of as you say, it's a meander through a forest. You know, it's all first person, so it really does lend itself. I think in the interview, Niels Anderson said Campo Santo, which is the developer, they said they think that VR is cool, but there are immediate concerns about the amount of work that's needed to adapt it to VR, since it wasn't planned in the first place. So it seems like when they sat down, like I say, it's a very small studio, when they sat down to kind of get it to start it, they didn't have VR or weren't kind of weren't thinking about VR when they started this game. So yeah, you're right. If it takes off, it's a PlayStation console exclusive. It's on PC as well. You never know. PlayStation might honk up some money or give them some help to get that VR patch out. It's interesting. The other game I was talking about earlier, Volume, that's going to be VR as and when PlayStation VR comes out.
Yeah, I remember. I've seen that. Yeah, it's funny.
So that means I already have a VR game. I just need the
VR to go with it. Yeah, see, that's why they do it. You see, it's like, well, I've got this game. It's VR compatible, so it's sort of rude not to go out and buy PSVR, isn't it? Really, there's no excuse because you've got your £10. You've got your £10 game that's compatible. So
yes, all you need now is your £800 VR.
It'd be madness not to do it. I thought Campo Santo was the locale that the game was set in.
So like I say, this is coming out February the 9th. Mark your calendars. It looks like it's going to be fantastic. Great thing for me, even though Unravel, which I've already pre-ordered, and this come out on the same day, I'm actually waiting until my birthday, which is the 12th of February, to play Unravel. So I can play this when it comes out as well.
Oh wow! I've never heard such restraint.
I know. I may just, so I can straight away play this and then just kind of, forget about Yarny for just a moment.
Yeah, you need sort of a Yarny calendar that's knitted, like an advent calendar, but it's knitted.
Oh. Nice little tease. I've actually got a thing about that in just a moment. But first, the next piece of news is with you.
Oh wow, you made my piece of news feel inadequate.
Yeah, just get your news out of the way so we can talk about Yarny.
It is really quick, this one.
What have you got?
Good news for you, Anthony, mate. Ratchet and Clank release date has been announced.
Yes.
Yay! 22nd of April in the UK.
Awesome.
So it is awesome, but we have to wait the longest. 15th of April in France.
Right.
20th of April everywhere else in the PAL region. So yeah, we have to wait till 22nd. But, I'm not bothered. I think this game's going to be good.
So is that coinciding with the movie? Is the movie coming out around that time as well?
Yeah, it's going to coincide with the movie. Yeah, absolutely. So it could be that the movie just comes out on those dates in those territories. That could be why it happens. And if you pre-order, which you can now, you can do that now if you want to pre-order it, if you can't wait to get your Clank on.
I think I've already pre-ordered on Amazon.
Have you?
Yeah, I think I have.
Well, then you are very lucky because you will get access to the super awesome exclusive pre-order weapon, the Bouncer.
Did they actually use the word super awesome?
Yep.
Wow, it's like I wrote that press release.
I thought that you'd hacked the site on the PlayStation blog and wrote that.
I'm just looking at my orders on my Amazon thing now, right? I've just filter, open, come on, quicker than that. This is disc-based, so I have pre-ordered, arriving 22nd of April, there you go, as you just said. I'll get some good stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's just going to be... It was silky smooth on PS3.
Yes.
Beautifully silky. So they will keep that because that's sort of one of the main things about the game. It's sort of the aesthetic, the beauty of it, that cartoony brightness. I love that. I love bright games. We get so many dreary games, and I bet it's just going to be a pleasure to when it's just a pleasure to control the character.
It's going to be so great. You're going to go to the cinema. Watch the 3D Ratchet and Clank movie. I know I am. I could watch the 3D Ratchet and Clank movie, come out, and then play that game. And it's the graphics are not going to be that far away, are they? It's like because looking at the trailers that have happened, it's like you're playing. I think the term we've used before, it's like you're playing a Pixar movie. And it just. I think this is just going to be a benchmark of how these 3D platformers should look on this next generation, on this new generation.
Yeah, and it's just so great for the kids because we appreciate the evolution of stuff. We go and watch the film and then play the game. But it's going to be even better, I think. Or maybe they don't even realise and take it for granted, but maybe it's because we look back on where games were that I feel this. But I just think it's so amazing for kids to go and watch something like that and then be able to just go home and play it and it to be almost seamless in its visual splendour. But maybe that's just normal and it's only sort of older gamers like me and you that would even think that, and that when you've just sort of when that's the way it's been, maybe you don't even appreciate. Not really appreciate's the wrong word, but it probably just maybe it doesn't even enter your head.
Yeah, I just can't wait to play this game because it looks to me as if it's going to be it's almost like a throwback to Ratchet 1, but it's new. It's not just a remake. They've added new bits to it. It's a reboot.
It's a reboot.
A retelling of that story, if you will.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it'll all unravel.
Oh, speaking of Unravel, it would be seamless if we didn't make such a big thing out of it.
That's so exciting to do a segue.
Oh, superb. Right, speaking of Unravel, two things quickly. Unravel. So Unravel is coming out, as I was saying, I think Unravel is coming out on the 9th of February in the US and also in the UK as well, unless you have EA Access. So EA Access are giving their subscribers an opportunity to, A, get your hands on Unravel a good 5 days before, so the 4th of February, you'll be able to get Unravel, and also EA Access members will get a 10-hour trial of Unravel. So if you're an EA Access member, this service that is, I am so close to just splashing out $3.99 a month. It's a cappuccino. It's a Starbucks coffee a month for getting EA Access. They're actually giving you 5 days early, 10-hour trial of Unravel.
Wow. I mean, it's strange. This is the obvious point, isn't it? For me, anyway. I don't expect the game to be longer than 10 hours.
No, I really don't. So if this is just like you play through the game a couple of... if this was Firewatch, you'd play through it twice.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's weird, but maybe it's just they know about the hype. EA know about the hype behind the game, and they want to get more people involved on EA Access, and this is a way to do it. It's not like they're giving away like an equivalent of Fallout 4 or Star Wars Battlefront, even though they did a trial on Battlefront as well. But it's not like they're saying 40-hour free trial on Tomb Raider or something like that. It's kind of a free game if you've got the time to put aside to play it for 5 or 6 hours. You'd get that game under your belt and you'd think, thanks EA Access, I've completed that game now.
Yeah, unless they're kind of not giving you the achievements, maybe, because EA Access is only available on PC. So whether they're, on Xbox. So whether they're not giving you the achievements and you have to unlock the full game to get the achievements,
maybe it doesn't save.
Something.
Maybe it doesn't save, and if you turn it off, you've got to start again.
Yes, yeah, maybe that's like old school gaming. So maybe they'll have that. But they're also, like I say, as well as they're saying 10 hours unrestricted access to Unravel. But maybe that game's bigger than what we think. So it's a real interesting one. Also via EA Access in February, you're also getting access to Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 2 early. So that's also going to be a week early. And also, Sports UFC 2 is also, you're going to get that a good week early as well. So if UFC is your bag, EA Access, again, you're going to get early access to that. And they did that with Star Wars as well, didn't they? They gave everybody early access. So it's a great way for EA to just kind of... a little bit extra cash and just to give those kind of people that are really kind of invested in these games early access to it. It's worthwhile noting, just while we're talking about Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare, a time of podding, where the 13th of January, tomorrow the 14th of January, so if you listen to this when this pod posts, Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare has a 4-day beta running on both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It's running from the 14th all the way through to the Monday, so the 18th. And you'll be able to get full access to Plants vs Zombies. You don't need to be access to EA Access. They're just running that beta to stress test those servers before the game comes out in February. It's worthwhile noticing that your progress on the beta won't go over to the full version, of course, but if you want to jump in and have a look and see what's happening, then that's happening over the weekend.
Wow, get in line. I'll be there at the front.
You say that so facetiously, sir.
No, not at all.
I must admit, it was like when the first one came out, it was back at the start of Xbox One, and it was that time where we didn't really have much to play. You know, I finished Rise, and I remember Nicola and I, because we both got day one Xboxes, and we bought 2 copies of that, and we were playing like we were co-oping in garden mode, and because both of us liked Plants vs Zombies, you know, it was quite fun. You know, it was quite a fun romp, but it really I bought like disc base for both of us, and it really did only last, I think, a couple of weekends, and then we got a bit fatigued with it.
Yeah,
but it's a great game. It was, very bright, very colourful. It's quite nice to see the whole kind of Plants and Zombies in 3D. It's quite nice to kind of see that. But I was quite surprised when they announced and made such a big deal about it at E3 when they announced the second version.
Yeah, I know. It's so shocking.
It's like, really?
It's like, where do you think that there's a fan base that are just like on their knees in ecstasy saying this? Because I don't know them. I've never heard of them. But where are they?
But Exactly. Really? You want to make another one of these? But anyway, on to and I was teasing two Unravel, two yarny pieces of goodness. The second one is on UnravelGame.com. They've actually released a way that you can make your own yarny. So they have a page. I'm going to stick it in the show notes, and I'll probably be tweeting about it as well to try and get one of my friends to make one for me. But this is a way of making your own yarny. So they have a step-by-step guide. You just need some wire. You need some red yarn, obviously, some white yarn. You need some wire and some pliers, a grown-up. In my case, I'll probably cut something off. They have this kind of step-by-step way of making a yarny, and they kind of take you through the whole wireframe. It's adorable to see it. So I'm going to stick this link in the show notes, and I expect to see yarnies popping up all over the internet when people start making these.
Wow! Do you need any competencies? Do you need to know how to crochet?
No, it's all about bending that wire. It's all about bending the wire. You basically make a wireframe of yarny, so you get a naked yarny, all just wireframe, and then you just start wrapping the legs in yarn. So you're just kind of wrapping it around, and just kind of really kind of just wrapping that up. So when they first showed it, I thought maybe it was knitted, but it's not. It's just kind of, you're just winding that yarn around the skeleton, if you will, and just kind of making it really tight. And they kind of take you through step by step, and the finished version looks really good. I think the only little bit of crocheting that may be needed as I scroll to the bottom is just to kind of do his eyes.
That's really nice, and it'll be poseable once you've finished.
Absolutely, and I think that's the cool thing about it, because you're right. The arms are, you got full movement on the arms, head, and legs.
Yeah,
you?
The thing is, it's really generous, because they could have just not put that up and sold yarnies. They could have had someone in an office just bending wire and wrapping yarn around, and they could have been selling there. I reckon they'd sell pretty well, because he's quite beloved already, isn't he? As a bit of an icon. Really is. So I'm not just going to say they missed a trick. I just think that it's quite a nice gesture, saying, we're not all about the money. We're going to let you just make your own yarny instead of selling you one for £10.
Yeah. I mean, what about you? Are you buying yarny? Are you going to be downloading it, buying it?
Yeah, and Firewatch. It's a shame they come out on the same day. So I will have to apply some sort of system to decide the order in which I play them. I suppose it'll probably be yarny first, because I imagine that I will consider Firewatch to be more similar to the games that I've recently played than Yarny. Because Yarny's quite different. I know it's 2D platformer at its heart, but because it's cutesy, I haven't played a cutesy game for a while. So, and I don't think that's going to change by, 3 weeks from now. So yeah, I'd probably play Yarny first. And then I'll have to keep my lips closed and not spoil anything for you. And then go on to Firewatch. So we'll probably attack it opposite, won't we? Because you're going to do Firewatch first, aren't you, and wait for Unravel for your birthday?
Yes. So they both come out on the 9th. We'll probably record a pod on the 10th, and then I've got a couple of days before Yarny. So I'll be interested to hear what you think about your kind of, your first playthrough, or your first kind of impression of Unravel.
Yeah, the expectation that I've got is that I'm going to feel like I'm playing Little Big Planet, but I'm hoping with less floaty controls.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely didn't look that floaty. I saw it at Gamescom, and it was so funny because the pod was there. I could have played it, but instead I just stepped back and watched somebody else play it because it's that thing where this is a game where I want to just discover it all for the first time when I've got the full version, and I just can't wait to play it. Unravel just looks amazing.
It's beautiful, and they won the hearts and minds of everyone with the developer coming and doing his little speech at E3, and was it at EGX? I don't remember seeing it.
I don't remember seeing it
because we went all around the indie bit and we didn't see it. It was withheld then.
It must have been because I would have shown you because like when you see the water come in and it just looks so amazing. It just is a really stunning looking game. So yeah, no, I can't wait. So that's the 9th of February that game comes out. And like I say, I'll put a link in the show notes how to make your own Yarny.
And as well, every time we talk about EA Access, it becomes more tempting. And when you put it into perspective that it's a cup of coffee at Starbucks or a pint of lager. It's sort of strange the way that we perceive spending our money on different things. It's like I wouldn't have a second thought about buying a round of drinks for people, okay? Which would be that would be could be that could be the £20 year subscription. Certainly be more than the monthly payment for EA Access. But then I'll sit at home and ponder about something like EA Access and think, nah, it's not worth it. It's not the right time. And the same could be said for PS Now. It's like I'm furious about that, but I think nothing about going out to a restaurant for something that you don't keep. I suppose you don't keep PS Now, you're renting. But do you know what I mean? You'd have the games a lot longer than you would have the food in your mouth, the fine food in your mouth and stuff. So it's just interesting the different sort of value we put on our money and where it's going. Because when you said it like that, I was just like, why haven't I got this? But then I think, I don't quite want to do it yet because there isn't enough games for me. For the price of a pint, I can have loads of games, though. It doesn't matter that they're not great or that I'm not interested in them. It's a great choice to have for £4 a month.
It really is, and it's quite fun. Absolutely, it's quite funny to find because I now subscribe to Netflix, I subscribe to Amazon Prime, and there is that kind of shall I, will I, won't I, and then once you do, you almost just forget about it.
Once you've made the jump, you'll never probably change.
Exactly, but it's just making that jump. Like I had a Sonos. I've got Sonos around my house where the streaming speakers. I absolutely love them. They're really cool, but they didn't have Apple Music, so I was never taking my 3-month Apple Music trial until Sonos updated. Now, luckily, just before Christmas, as they said they would, they released an update. They now support Apple Music, so I started my 3-month trial of Apple Music, and do you know what? I think that's something I'm going to jump into because it's absolutely fantastic that I could just go, oh, what was that song? Or who was that artist? Or, that's a really good song. And I just could a search away, anyone who's kind of used Spotify or any of those, they go, probably shouting at me going, this has been available for ages, it's not just Apple. But I just love I can make playlists, I can do it on my Sonos, and I can, with the Sonos, I can mix stuff that's coming from my music library or on my phone or in Apple Music, and I can mix them all into the same playlist on and it's really good. And that's like $8.99 a month, and I'm definitely going to go into that, and so I've made that decision because I think there was something that got me, and I think with EA Access, if something grabs me, if there's a game that's there, like for instance if they put maybe Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 2 free, then which they probably will do once the sales figures dip after a couple of months, I'd probably jump in because it's worthwhile a laugh.
And I think once you jump in, you're not going to get out, and this must be why they're leading. This maybe answers the question about why they put Unravel here, lead with Unravel and give 10 hours access, because there's probably a stat here. I bet like 90% of the battle is just getting people to subscribe. And that's why loads of places do free trials, isn't it? It's like, but you still have to put your credit card details or your debit card details in because they are expecting, stats must show that so many percent more people stay because they can't be bothered unsubscribing or they actually find value from the service than people that quit. So leading with Unravel makes sense on that score, doesn't it? So because 90% of it, say, let's just imagine it's 90%. 90% of the battle is getting the people invested enough to spend that initial money, but once they've done it, they'll like what they see. They're confident in the value that they're providing, and there's the basic people's laziness. They'll think, oh well, I've done it now. I can't be bothered because it's kind of there when I want it, even if they don't use it enough. So that's probably why they're doing this, because Unravel has gained a lot of hype. It's not. I don't imagine it's cost that much to by giving it away for a 10-hour trial. It's not as if and they're going to get a subscription payment anyway. So it makes good business sense, doesn't it, for them to do it?
Well, don't forget, if you sign up to EA Access, you get 10 hours of Unravel. Really enjoyed it, really want to play it. You then still have to buy that game. So they're like you say, they're doing exactly what they want you to do, which is sign up. Kind of play this new for EA. They're kind of using that Ubisoft model of we've got a dev there over in the corner that's built this game. Let's kind of show it off and make a thing of it. And they're also they're getting your subscription, and they're also getting the cost of the game as well.
Yeah, sort of like win-win for them. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know if we've seen in the past, but maybe we'll get some like figures and some subscriber numbers for EA Access. I'd be really interested to see.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how many people subscribed to get the early access to Star Wars Battlefront, and how many people maybe didn't renew their subscription.
A proper
this month.
spike.
Yeah. So maybe seeing that's why they're offering, and they know how beloved Yanni is and Unravel as a game. So maybe that's why they're offering this 10-hour experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, interesting. So next up, it's another one of them stories where somebody spent a lot of money on in-app purchases. It's really, you get these once in a while, don't you? But I didn't realise, shouts another victim, in inverted commas, victim of in-game purchases. Now, this particular guy spent £3,684 on microtransactions on FIFA 16.
Wow.
Well done, that guy. And usually, you can let them off because they're usually about 4 years old. And they were just hitting the iPad or something like this. This guy's 17. He's 17. And the game doesn't try and hide that you're going to pay when you make microtransactions within the game. It sort of like says, bang, you're going to pay money for this. It's like, it's not hidden away. It's very upfront about it. So this guy, his dad's called Lance Perkins. I don't think we've got the name of the 17-year-old in question. But basically, unsurprisingly, his quote is that it floored him. It floored me, literally floored me when I seen what I was being charged, said Canadian dad Lance Perkins. There will never be another Xbox system or any gaming system in my home.
Oh my goodness.
It's not the system's fault.
No.
I know, man.
If you're going to give kids access to your credit cards, make sure they're responsible.
Yeah. And this is a little warning for parents. And I hadn't thought about this. But you can't do anything about it. In this case, the credit card company told the guy's dad, Lance Perkins, that unless he wanted to charge his son with fraud, there was nothing that they could do because his son was making these transactions unbeknownst to his father.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, if you're gonna put your credit card details on there, I see parents, with iPads. The kids are there. They're in Pizza Express. That's where parents go with kids. They're in Pizza Express. In Starbucks, whatever. They're trying to talk, and little Johnny's sitting there. He's playing with his iPad. And knows his parents' password to unlock a game or unlock the screen, or he knows the iTunes password, then if you do that, if you give your kids access to your iTunes password, then you're asking for trouble, aren't you?
I mean, there's different models that you can have. A trust model, you can have a restriction model, maybe you can have a hybrid model of dealing with it. But I think just being aware, I don't know, it's just. And for 17, you can't plead ignorance at 17, can you? Oh, I didn't know what it was going to be.
Next to whatever Ultimate League he is purchasing, it has a Canadian dollar figure next to it. And he is just, he cannot be that stupid, or maybe he is, that next to it, it has a figure in dollars, in Canadian dollars, that says, buy. And he's buying it. And, with any purchase,
your debit card or
Xbox,
credit card will be charged.
Yeah, absolutely. And most purchases like that with Xbox, I don't know, I haven't played FIFA, but if I go to buy something, when I'm in-game, most of the time it takes me back out to the store, and then it shows me the last 4 digits of the credit card. So
And it sends a load of emails to the person who owns the account, which you would presume would be the father, or I don't know. I tell you what, I hope his Ultimate Team's pretty good.
Yeah, God, well, I mean, I should think so. For what is it, $3,000?
$3,500, no pounds.
That's only about £5 a room.
Well, it's not. It's 3,500. I mean, yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, it would only be. It'd be a decimal point instead of a comma. But it's $3,500 in sterling, the equivalent of whatever it was in Canadian dollars. It's probably about 100,000.
8,000 Canadian dollars. Yeah.
But it's just it just begs belief, really. But it's a warning, isn't it? To any dads out there.
It really is.
I mean, I don't know kids of every age. I don't know that many children. But for instance, my mate's son is 8, and he would know he would know exactly the implications of that. He's 8, and probably before that they're savvy. You can't just throw up your hands and plead ignorance on that. It's a team game. It's a multiplayer game. It's like your 17-year-old friends. Are they all ignorant of this as well? It's bizarre. But yeah, $3,500. Nothing the dad can do unless he wants to charge you some for fraud. It's just an interesting little lesson to take note of.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that EA and FIFA are standing strong on this, because it's not their fault that they put all the guidelines there. I've noticed changes in iOS. I've noticed changes. Xbox always had a security where you could say, this is a child account. I'm the parent. I'm running all of that. I'm not sure if that's the same with Xbox One, but it definitely used to be the case with Xbox 360. And I'm always wary, and I always say to parents, that you need to be aware of this. I mean, you're a parent, Darren. Does Sam have access? He doesn't know your iTunes password.
No. Well, I mean, he's only learning to read.
He'll pass it to you, won't he?
Yeah.
He'll pass it if there was a game that he wanted to buy. He'll pass it to you, and that's what should happen. Unless they have their own credit card when they're old enough, or debit card, not credit card.
There's like a thing called Go Henry, and you can give them their own sub card if you like.
Right.
And you allocate funds to that. And you get the information of what's been spent on it. There's systems like that in place that I didn't know about until recently. That's pretty interesting. That's called Go Henry, and it's like a mini, as I say, like a kid's credit card that you put the money on that you want them to have, and you get complete visibility of what they spend. Something like that. But yeah, when it came to it, I don't know exactly how I'm going to figure it out, but yeah, in its most rudimentary form, it would be a case of either pass me the iPad and I will sign off that purchase, or pass me the gamepad and I'll do the purchase there.
Yes.
And just, I'm hoping it'll be just like, you don't do it. It's wrong if you do it. Say if I got the details saved, I'd be like, just never do that. I will do it. Just come and ask me and I'll do it. But I would read my emails anyway, so as soon as anything was bought, I'd get an email and I'd be like, why did you do this? Yes. And then we'd be having a conversation. But I don't know what will happen, because I'm yet to be tested with all that. But, I've got all sorts of ideas about of internet security and security for things like this, whether to give him his own VLAN. And then just approve websites as he asks for them to be approved, so that he thinks he's got a free internet, but it's sort of completely censored. But on the other hand, I quite like the idea of just trust, and then he can put his feelers out and know right from wrong himself. It's difficult. It's difficult to know what to do in the future. I'm sort of okay at the moment because he's only just turned 5, but I'm very aware that there's going to be a lot of issues that I've got to think about with controlling purchases, controlling what exposure he has to games and what kind of games and experiences within the world of games. I want him to be a gamer, but I want to hold him back away from the inappropriate stuff as far as I can. And I'm not saying that Peggy is a law there, because I feel that some 16 games could be appropriate for him. For instance, I think it's okay for him to play a bit of Star Wars Battlefront. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that me, as a parent, I think that's okay. But that's got a 16 on it on the box. But I wouldn't have him playing until dawn. So yes. It's all about individual decisions between the parents and the child. And as Sam grows, I'll be led by what he's like, by his maturity, by his personality, I suppose, really. And I will either relinquish or cut down control appropriate to his age and his maturity, and I'll be on top of certainly his spending money on in-app purchases and on games. It'll go through me with him be, as his parent, it'll be a decision that myself and Claire will make after discussing it with probably each other and him. It's just like, that's because it's not just about whether the game's appropriate. It's also like you can't just have every game that comes out. Because, so there's all sorts of facets with it, with gaming and the internet, that's really scary. But I have to say, I know I'm untested, but this is diabolical, as if he didn't know at 17,
yes.
And his dad should have been more careful as well, I think.
Absolutely, it's quite interesting. I had a quick Google on support.xbox.com, and there is a way that you can prevent unauthorized purchases by children on Xbox One. You actually create a pass key, so if you try to buy something with the credit card details that's on the Xbox One, it challenges you for this pass key, so you then put in the pass key, and then it will then authorize those purchases. So that's also for signing in. You can do it for signing in, making purchases, and also changing settings as well.
Yeah, and the necessary measures, I think maybe sometimes they're a little bit hidden in the advanced settings. I think maybe it should be sometimes brought a little bit more to the forefront so that parents that are maybe not as savvy as you and I can just understand it a little bit more.
Absolutely. Do you know what? I'll stick this link into the show notes just in case there are any parents out there that are thinking about how they do this, or the same as you. They're getting to that point where they've got to start making those decisions. So I'll stick this in the show notes because it's definitely a nice jumping point to read what the Xbox One offers, and I'll also have a look and see if there's anything about PlayStation 4 as well to see if I can put a similar one to that.
Yeah, brilliant. And I noticed the other day, because I upgraded my iPad from iOS 7, where it had been for ages, to 9.1, the latest one or whatever it is. And I was getting a free app, and it asked me, it made a distinction and said, because this is free, it was like, do you want to save the password for free purchases? And I thought that was quite good, so I said yes. But in hindsight, I'm not sure if that is a good idea either. So I might have to try and unravel that, and I don't know how I'll be able to. But yeah, that'd be great. We should put that in the show notes because it is interesting, and it's just interesting to know that there's these security levels in place. It might not just be for kids; it might be for situations where you're sharing a flat and all sorts of situations.
Yes, indeed. If you're sharing just one Xbox but you want to protect your profile, then definitely this looks like it could be the way to do it. So the next piece of news is with me. This is quite an interesting one for me, being a bit of a DC fanboy. Not that I don't have access to it, because I do, but DC Universe Online, they celebrated their 5th anniversary, their 5th year this week. So Daybreak Studios made a big thing about it. So this is DC Universe Online. It's a bit of a kind of MMO, I guess, and it's a very interesting game. It's a game that had my interest when it first came out because the art style is created by one of my favorite artists, which is Jim Lee. So it looked amazing. It's very much kind of a Diablo-esque game, if you will. So this Daybreak Games, that used to be Sony Online Entertainment, celebrated the 5th year. They celebrated it by saying that they're adding Superboy and also Darkseid as well to the universe, so they're coming, and also that, quite interestingly, that Superboy is going to be voiced by Greg Miller from Kind of Funny Games. So they made the announcement on the Kind of Funny daily stream. I think they were up there at Daybreak Game Studios, so they kind of made that announcement. So which is really good. So that's coming. There's a whole load of new content coming. One of them is going to be for the new DC TV show called Legends of Tomorrow. So there's a lot coming to this game, but one of the biggest news is that it's going to be coming to Xbox One. So they announced this week that DC Universe Online is coming to Xbox One in the spring 2016. They don't have a firm date. They just have spring 2016 at the moment. So that it's coming. So this game that was once, if you will, once owned by Sony Online Entertainment, is now kind of making that jump over to Xbox One. It's a shame because you've got I think PC and PlayStation 4 are cross-play, but Xbox One is kind of on its own. There's no kind of cross-play with PC or, if ever there would be, PlayStation 4. But, the good news is this game is coming it's free to play as well. So it's free to play with, obviously, you can just buy extra stuff and buy extra additions to your character. But this free to play title, DC Universe, is coming to Xbox One in the spring.
Wow. How strange that it's not going to be sort of cross-play with the PC. I mean, I know they probably can't change it, but with all that Windows 10 Universal Apps thing, it's strange, isn't it?
It really is, because, like I say, I think it's they engineered the PlayStation platform to work with PC, and now they're bringing in Xbox One now that they're out of Sony, and they're just like, and now they can't do it. So yeah, no, it really is interesting that it's PlayStation 4, PC, and then poor old Xbox out there on its own.
Oh well, it's got a fair old a fair old bunch of fans that can play it on Xbox One. There's a great community there, isn't there? Maybe it's good to just have it as console only, because maybe changes in controls over PC. Maybe the PC guys have the edge. Maybe the console guys have the edge. I don't know. I haven't played the game, but at least everyone's on the same level playing field if they're all stuck on the same box.
Yeah, indeed. It's interesting. I think when it first came out, I jumped in, had a quick look, created my character, and had a bit of a play. It was good, it was great. It wasn't the game that I thought it was going to be, so maybe that's why I just kind of went on to something else. But I definitely might give it another try when it comes out on Xbox, just to kind of see, the improvements that have happened, and just to have a quick look at it. So, especially, being a DC fan, that this is definitely it ticks one of those boxes.
Yeah, and the nature of those games, they evolve over time. It's 5-year anniversary. It could be a lot different. It could be a lot more polished, couldn't it? Now.
It really is. You don't play as like Batman or Superman or any of those. You create your own character. But it's quite funny when I first created my character. It was kind of a bit like Batman. And then you can shocker. And then you could then pick a mentor as well. So you could pick a mentor, and then and my mentor was Batman. So he kind of pops in and out of your game every now and then. So which was quite cool. So speaking of Batman. Just a quick one. Arkham Knight, the game that just keeps on giving. They're bringing more DLC out.
More?
More, you say? Yeah, absolutely. They're going to bring more DLC out. They're bringing out another skin for Batman, free to download. It's going to be free. It's the Batman Incorporated skin. So from the Grant Morrison storyline, Batman Incorporated. So they're bringing out the Batman Incorporated skin, and then they're also bringing out another one of the Fighter Challenger packs, and that has some of the old maps. Some of the old maps have been tarted up a bit. So old maps from previous games, such as the Iceberg Lounge, which I think was in Arkham. It wasn't Arkham Asylum. It was probably Arkham City. And they've redone it, and they've put it into the game. So there's a challenge map coming, and also some more DLC.
Wow, no Witcher for you then.
Yeah, that's it. It was quite funny, wasn't it? Because last week you said no new Batman, and I was just just a couple of weeks away, and then it would have happened.
And there it is. I wonder if they'll do like a second season pass. Has that been done yet? Has a game come out with a season pass and then add season pass 2?
Well, Destiny.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
Yeah, Destiny had a season pass, and then the season pass they gave you all the content that they advertised, and then they brought out more stuff. So there's definitely. I'd be really interested with this if they're still making it. I mean, it's such an amazing looking game. It's such a fantastic game. Are they just moving on? I mean, we know that Rocksteady is moving on, but have they handed it over to someone else to do, or is this just they want to just do some more? I was convinced that we would get a season 2, that we would get more, especially after the Season of Infamy, which finished the first DLC. But all in all, that game stays there on my pins. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, if it's done well, Warner Brothers will create more.
Yes.
So it will come. More will come. And as I said, I think if it wasn't the last podcast before that, I've skipped a few Batman games now. And I think the next one I might be ready to jump in. So I'm sort of looking forward to the new one, and I'm hoping that they do just, I don't know, just change the dynamic a little bit to make it, if it feels exactly, for me, if it's gonna be sort of a clone of this one, I probably won't jump in. So I'd just like them to bring more to the table. I mean, as a diehard Batman fan, you might say, this is Batman. So in that case, I'm stuck. But I think maybe can they add more? Or for you, does this completely sort of encompass everything that Batman can be? Because you love the game that much? Or do you think that they could bring a new game out and it could be better? Because if it can't get any better, it's a shame for me.
No, I definitely think there's room to manoeuvre. I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about the last one, about the last Arkham game, was the fact that Arkham Knight was that the detective mode in it, which there was a couple of the missions where you're flying around, you're listening, it's like audible cues or visual cues, and I really enjoyed that. And I just think that is how they could take Batman. And they need to lose those. They need to lose those tank missions. They need to get rid of those, quite quickly. But driving around, it's quite funny because people have been saying, when you read on forums, they need to come out of Gotham, and I disagree with that, because Batman and Gotham are the same thing. They are one of the same, and you can't take Batman out of Gotham. Whenever I read a graphic novel and it's in a different place, it always feels wrong. Batman should be in Gotham. That's where he should be. But I do think there is more. I do think there is a lot more that they could do with it. And it's not just new villains, but I would be happy with that. I'd be happy with a different season, a new villain, a whole new story, a whole new campaign. I'd be happy with that, but I really want maybe the detective mechanic to just be enhanced a little bit more.
Yeah, I think a good crossover would be, and it would be nothing like Arkham Knight, but they could keep the graphics if they could, be an Arkham Knight XCOM crossover. So that sort of isometric top-down view, and there's crooks or whatever you call them in Batman, and you've got an objective, and it's sort of strategic. So you got it's sort of turn-based, and you've got to plot your way to the objective and things. I think that could be really cool.
That could be really good, actually.
Yeah, I'd like that. But that obviously, that's not the sequel that I'm wanting. That'd be just a shifty little a little treat for a tenner or something, or an iOS game. But I think that would work really well. You got like a Batman Go, if you like.
Yes.
That could be good. That could be good. Oh, we come up with so many ideas on here.
So many ideas. We need to start getting. We need to start getting those out. I'm sure EA or Ubisoft or Microsoft could make tons out of the things that are in your head.
Well, they're often listening, so we'll see if any of them come to fruition.
Super. I mean, but the Batman Incorporated, which that new outfit, that was it. It was about franchising the Batman. That's what the whole kind of Batman Incorporated storyline was about. So you could do that. You could, with that XCOM kind of top down, you could have multiple Batmen, taking on those different villains.
That'd be good, wouldn't it? Villains. That's the word I was looking for when I said crooks. Excellent. Yeah, that sounds really good. So, I suppose it's time. It's been a while. Let's have a little chat about the Xbox versus PS4 sales figures once again.
Oh, it sounds like it needs a jingle, doesn't it? It's like fanboy.
Yeah. Flame attack.
Flam the flame. No, I can't even say it. Flam the flames.
Flam the flames of fire.
Superb.
Yeah, so there's been a little news story this week that an analyst, Mary Jo Foley, was chatting about Windows with some guests, and she said that of around 200 million activations for Windows, 18 million were for the Xbox One. And that's quite interesting because that's actually the best estimate that anybody's had yet of how many Xbox Ones have been sold.
Yes.
Because Microsoft haven't released any concrete figures. So it's all been a bit of a guesstimate. But that little sound bite, for its few seconds of sound, revealed quite a lot. So yeah, it's the closest we've got to an estimation of Xbox sales. So it's 18 million.
Wow.
Which is, that's a good figure. That is a good figure, For example, if you compare it, the Wii U is only on 12.5 million after 3 years. So it's not that the Xbox is a slouch. It's just that it's not keeping up with PS4.
Yes, absolutely, indeed. And the PS4 numbers are just crazy. I mean, we reported last week. What did we report last week? Was it 36 million?
Yeah, it's 36 million. It's sort of 2 for 1, isn't it? Yeah, PS4 to Xbox. But if the PS4 didn't exist, or if they'd both sold the same, it would be a roaring success for each of them anyway.
Yes.
But it's just that the PS4's outstripping the Xbox 2 to 1 in that unprecedented leap. It's doing really well. But I think what to take away from it is that it's not that the Xbox One is failing. It's just been outstripped by PS4 in sales. But it's by no means going to have a lack of support. That's a massive customer base.
That's a massive customer base after 2 years, isn't it? So we're into year 3 now, aren't we, of the Xbox One? So that's a really big install base. If every single one of those people bought a Halo game, that's a lot of figures. And it's a shame because Microsoft are on the back foot that they're not open with the figures, because when they were leading it in the previous generation, they were happy to throw those figures out, weren't they? Every month.
Yeah, absolutely. So tight lips. It just goes to show that they're not very happy with the figures, but it's actually nothing to be ashamed about. Well, maybe it is, but it's they're obviously not happy because it's so outstripped by PS4. But it's like it's a good effort. It's a good effort, and it could change if they got loads of exclusives that were really good. It could change. Well, could it? Or could it? Is there enough time within this generation? If you imagine that probably the next consoles would come out in, what should we say, 2020?
Yes.
Do you think they can do it in 4 years? Could they turn it around? I mean, they've got to equal and then surpass PS4 in 4 years. I don't know. It's difficult because for me, they just have to have exclusive after exclusive. That was AAA, AAA. There was of great quality.
I mean, they did a good job of it this year. They had, Forza, Guardians, Tomb Raider. They had a whole load that, even, Rare Replay, Gears of War Ultimate, all of those, they were. And, I know you scoffed last week, but there's
more coming, though, isn't there?
Exactly. When people see Crackdown, and when they see Sea of Thieves, and when they see those games, they're going to come in their droves. I tell you, they will be. And it'll get to a point where you have everyone who has bought a PlayStation, has bought a PlayStation. So it will come that those figures start stopping and start slowing down, because it happened in the previous generation. Xbox was way out, and then suddenly Xbox started to just slow down. The sales of Xbox just started to slow down, and then PlayStation, I think by the end of it, PlayStation were matching, weren't they? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, if not matching, certainly well catching up. And that's the thing, you get the people that get the get the PS4, and they because the generation cycle, because it's quite long, there's room in there to probably get 2 consoles within the space of 7 or 8, 9 years. So people will probably just double up on what they own and get both. Why not? But the catalyst for that has to be quality games, and I'm not saying there's no quality games on the Xbox One. There's loads, but they just need to keep it up, don't they? They just need to keep it up. And it's great though, because of that situation, you've got Phil, and he's got all these guns blazing, and Microsoft and Xbox, they're really trying to do that, and that's great for us, isn't it? Because you're getting innovation, you're getting great games, you're getting they're making a concerted effort to deliver what the gamers want, which is like new IPs and just good gameplay, and just deliver what gamers want. And you can see that with the communication. It's good. And if they weren't in that situation, maybe it wouldn't be so rosy as the gamer looking into that brand.
No, indeed, and I've already noticed Major Nelson on Twitter has started hinting at the next lot of updates. I think there was an update, or there is an update coming to Xbox that's a bit of a behind-the-scenes one, because they stop releasing updates for December, kind of end of November, December, because there's lots of new Xboxes coming onto the system, so they give the devs time off, which is one thing, and they also just kind of have it nice and settled for those people coming on with new Xboxes. So there's no, but we started to, I should think February will probably be our first month where we start getting those new features, because if you remember last year we were getting new features every month, weren't we?
Yeah, and it's as if it was like a checklist, wasn't it, of what people wanted, and it was just like yep, and it was great.
Absolutely, and again, we've had 1 year of Phil, and I'm sure the sales have leapt. And Phil is as you said, you quite rightly put it, Phil is all guns blazing. So I can't wait for E3.
Yeah, he's a great driving force for Xbox. He really is.
He really is. He really is indeed. So the next piece of news is with me, and that's Amazon Prime. Teased it a bit early on, but Amazon Prime have just launched an awesome new deal for gamers. Now, this is US only, so this is just for our US friends at the moment. I found it on Amazon.com. I could not find it on Amazon CA or Amazon.co.uk. But I noticed that on Amazon.com they have added an extra benefit if you're a Prime member. So if you're a Prime member, you get 20% off new video games. So the 20% is only offered on physical copies of the game, so no digital downloads there, and only available for pre-orders all the way up to and 2 weeks after the game's release. So you're getting 20% off of all those games. Now, like I say, I can only find it in America at the moment. I can only find it in the US. And I think the reason why it may be just starting in the US is that Best Buy, they also offer something called a Gamers Club. And the Gamers Club gives you 20% off. So Amazon are matching this. So maybe they saw over Christmas, they've lost a lot out to Best Buy were releasing figures, and maybe their figures weren't great. So they're coming in with this 20% off new video games, which I think is a fantastic deal. So along with Amazon Instant Streaming, free shipping, free books if you have a Kindle, they're also now offering this 20% off new video games, which is great, because Amazon always kind of come in at the cheapest anyway. So if they keep that, so they come in at the cheapest to obviously entice non-Prime members to buy from Amazon, and then they're also knocking 20% off. This is a really good incentive.
Yeah, it's almost like they're aggressively trying to encapsulate the consumer there, because if you were a Prime customer, you could just never have to leave Amazon, do you? You never have to go anywhere else. Like you say, you've got the streaming video, you've got the free delivery, you're getting 20% off your games, and it's just like, wow, we'll never need to look to another website. It's a new internet. It's just Amazon.
It really is, and in the UK, in the US, they've had this for a while, but in the UK this week, we also had Amazon Pantry, that very British title for it, Amazon Pantry, which is just that. You can start saying, "Oh, I'm out of this, I'm out of that," and then you can add it, and when you get enough to fill a Amazon Pantry box, it gets shipped to you, free of charge because you're a Prime member. So that's fantastic, and I know that in the US they have a speaker which is similar to the Sonos, but you can actually talk to it as well. So you can say, "Oh, I'm out of flash wipes," and it will add flash wipes to your list, and then when you get enough, it ships to you. So it's all of these kind of stuff which I absolutely love. I just absolutely love. I want to live in a fully automated house.
Yeah, with drones just dropping stuff off.
Absolutely. I scared Nicola the other day when I was talking about an iOS door lock because we're going to buy a new front door, and I was talking about an iOS lock, and I think I scared her a bit. I was like, but I can go up with my watch and I can open the door with my watch, and she just gave me that look, which was step too far, boy, step too far.
I must admit, that's really weird, because only yesterday, I think it was, I was putting the key in the front door, and I said to Claire, I was like, this is ridiculous. I can open my car with a button. Why haven't they done a front door with a button? Can't be bothered with this.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a fantastic device I've seen. I'm going to get a doorbell that because when I'm back in my office, I'm up at the top of the house. Sound cancelling headphones on. Can't hear my Amazon delivery. So when the postman rings the doorbell, my phone will go off as if it's a FaceTime to just say there's someone at the door. I can then do a quick video to that guy and just say leave the package there. I can see who it is. But the door lock, I think, was a step too far. But this this application has this door has it really good. See, if you were having a summer party, you're all in the back garden, you can actually send out with the invites to say, you can set up for 2 hours. You can say, this is the key that you need to enter. This is the number that you need to enter. So you enter that number, and then you're into your house, and you say this is only valid between the party hours when you're having your summer soiree in the back of your house.
Wow, party access. I love it.
It's great. It's fantastic. But by all accounts, that was just a little bit too far.
just be subtle for a few more months.
Yes, indeed. So I was just going, what about if my battery... It's quite funny because obviously they do have a key. There is a key there. She goes, what about if my iPhone battery ran out? And I was like, well, you got a key. And I was like, and then that was it. It was just the whole kind of, I could use this to open the door thing. So... I'll leave that go for a bit. I'll get the doorbell first.
Yeah.
And then all of that.
Reel her in slowly with the intercom.
Yes. I already get text messages if my house is burning down because I have Nest Thermostat and Nest Protect, which is whenever a smoke alarm goes off, you get a text message. The place is like, your house is burning down. There is a fire in the movie room.
Wow.
So cool. Well, I was cooking the other day and it kind of went off and I got a text to say, there is a fire in your house. Would you like to turn on the... if you have a camera, they will turn on and record it. Because Nest also have a camera. And so you can so when the fire alarm is tripped, you can actually turn on the camera so you can watch your house burn to the ground. Lovely.
Wow. Yeah, such memories.
Such memories. Oh, look at that. There's my TV just burning. Anyway, next news item is with you, sir.
Yeah, it is. The next thing is, I thought it was time to have a quick look at all the games coming in 2016 that we've got released.
Dazzy's crystal ball.
Yeah, these are all games that we've got release dates for.
Right.
Supposedly, I was going to say set in stone. That's a ridiculous thing to say regarding games. But these games have all got release dates. So I was having a look at what is due out.
So what's coming up? Where are we now? We are 13th of January. What have we got coming?
Right, well, yesterday on the 12th, your game, Banner Saga, came out on Xbox One and PS4.
Yes.
And Gone Home came out as well. So that's an interesting one. That's one I'd like to look at both of those. Mm-hmm. I'm interested in those.
Me too.
I've been hearing a little bit about another game that came out yesterday, That Dragon Cancer.
Right.
Which is a PC indie game, but I won't play it. It looks really tragic. It's about a parent and a child who's got cancer. It sounds awful, but apparently it's quite a good game. But not in the fun sense. But as a game, it works. But I don't even want to try that one. That's a bit too gritty. So what have we got? So I'm just going to go through this list now. I'm not going to read them all out because that'd take a while because there is quite a lot coming out. But I'm going to tell you the games. My games list for 2016, and then if you want to do the same, you could do the same and tell me if we'll see if we match. So as I look down here, nothing on the 15th of Jan. The next game that I'm going to buy would be The Witness on PS4.
No Boy in His Blob.
A Boy in His Blob.
A Boy in His Blob.
Oh,
Boy in His Blob. PlayStation Vita. I want to get The Witness done so I can play A Boy in His Blob.
Boy in His Blob. It reminds me of a very, very old game on my Commodore 64. That One Man in His Blob. Or was that One Man in His Dog? No, it was One Man in His Blob. And I think that was just an excuse because they knew they couldn't make a character that looked anything like a dog.
they couldn't render a dog, so they just put a blob.
They just have a blob because it's easy, isn't it? They call things blobs. It was good in the 8-bit days. He had a lot of blobs around. So yeah, The Witness for me on 26th of January. Hopefully that's going to be good. So that takes me to January. So that means I've got a while, well, maybe 2 weeks to finish my backlog. Then it's all quiet for me until, well, we're in February now, till the 9th of February, when I'll be jumping in for Firewatch and Unravel. Okay.
Yep.
Then, and there's other games as well, but I'm not reading them all out. Then
I think the only other game between those for me it would be Lego Marvel Avengers, which looks, it's all of the Marvel movies, the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a Lego game. And I found out today that on the PS4 or PlayStation 3, they're actually getting free DLC of Civil War and Ant-Man.
Yeah, I read that as well. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that as well, but it's so much time to play it. But yeah, they are. I do like my Lego games. So that takes us up to 9th of February. And then, for me, there's a whole bunch of games coming out on the 12th, but I'm not... Oh, actually.
Mighty Number 9.
Yeah, and Earth Defense Force. If that's good,
EDF.
I do like a bit of that. Yeah, so that could be one that I could wait for though. Mighty Number 9 as well. Then I'm not going to get Street Fighter 5. Far Cry Primal, 23rd of Feb. That could be one worth getting. I'm probably not going to get The Division.
What? Record scratch? What?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get it. I sort of dislike it already.
Have you seen the new trailer that dropped today?
No. No.
Oh my god! I was counting on you, Daz. I was going to try and persuade you to get it on the Xbox One, so we could team up. But go on, carry on.
Yeah, I'll carry on. So
carry on.
Maybe I'll end up getting it, but no, I don't think I'm going to get The Division.
Right.
There's a new Hitman, but I don't know what that's going to be like. Quantum Break, which won't be out in April, and then.
Well, they did tweet that they are close to finishing development of Quantum Break.
Okay, well, we'll see. I just thought I'd stick that in there because I sort of said it in a huff last week, didn't I?
Yep.
Dark Souls 3.
Yep.
Ratchet and Clank. They're both 12th of April, so that will be a decision for me because I won't get both. But they're a really good contrast.
Two incredibly different games.
That's such a good contrast. It's like when you've had enough of the other one, you can totally play the other one and forget about the other one. And then Uncharted 4 on 29th of April.
So we've got, in my maths, we've got, 17 days to finish Ratchet and Clank before Uncharted comes out.
Yeah, that's not good, is it? Or Dark Souls, which will be probably even harder to complete and probably have unlimited play time anyway because of New Game Plus and things. So 29th of April, Uncharted 4. Battleborn looks alright. But really more importantly for me, 24th of May, Battleborn's 3rd of May. 24th of May we've got Mirror's Edge Catalyst, which I'm going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's nothing else earmarked until the 23rd of August, when there's another must-have for me, Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Nice.
Yeah.
What a great... I mean, as I said last week, 2016 is going to be an awesome year for gaming. We've already got quite a few titles there, that are already incredible. There's more coming as well, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. There'll be other ones like slotted in there. And I mean, Deus Ex will take probably, for me, a couple of weeks to finish. So that takes me to sort of mid-September.
Yep.
So and then we'll be on the Christmas games lineup by then, won't we? There'll be some biggies coming out then. Fingers crossed. I'm just looking through the list now quickly to see what is exclusive. So let's have a look. We've got exclusive. I'm not going to include PC. I'm just going to do consoles. So we have a console exclusive in The Witness on 26th of January. That's PS4 only. Then we have Gravity Rush Remastered, which is exclusive to PS4. That's download only. Then we've got... I don't want to read all these. Some other games. Digimon Story, Cyber Sleuth, and Mega Dimension Neptunia 7. Both exclusive to PS4. I don't really count them. They're not going to sell consoles. That's just my personal opinion. They've probably got their own fan base. EDF is PS4 exclusive. Earth Defense Force 4.1 is PS4 only, and there's a Earth Defense Force 2 coming out on Vita as well. So it looks like EDF is going to be Sony exclusive.
Yep.
Then, as I cast my eyes through this list, I'm not doing handhelds either. It's just Xbox or PS4.
Quantum Break.
Quantum Break
April
is
5th.
That's the first one, isn't it? That's the first Xbox exclusive that we've listed that's due out. I think there. And then, after that, we've got Ratchet and Clank, which is PS4, Uncharted, which is PS4, and that's it for exclusives. So, contrary to how I thought that would turn out, the PS4 has got more exclusives than the Xbox coming out in those few months. I'm surprised. I hadn't sort of counted that up before, and I'm shocked because I thought there'd be more Xbox.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, by that list that we had last week, there was some more. There was Xbox titles that are not included in here, such as Gears of War.
That's just because they haven't got a date down yet.
They haven't got release dates yet. Yeah, I guess that's why. Yeah, but it's interesting. There's a nice smattering there, isn't there, of PS4 games.
There is surprisingly so, actually. Surprisingly so, because I was hoping when I started that, at the end of it, I was hoping to say, sort of not bad, the PS4's got no exclusives, but surprisingly, it has got a few. So I'm a bit shocked by that. And as you say, the greatest lineup in history for Xbox is continuing, and the reason they're not on that list is just that there's no release dates yet. Yeah, that list is from Game Central, so from Metro. So I think I'll add that link into the show notes so people can have a look as well. It's quite an interesting list, and there's a lot more games than we spoke about there as well.
Yes. Absolutely, fantastic. That's really cool. That's really, it's an interesting one. There's some really good titles there that I'm just looking at, and it's nice. They seem to be nicely spaced out throughout the year as well. And there's probably some that we don't even know about yet as well.
I hope so, because I don't know. There's nothing that's got me mega excited. Like, for instance, I was for Star Wars, or that I had for The Witcher. It's like I am excited about. Well, Uncharted's probably the one I'm the most excited about. And after that, I've got Mirror's Edge Catalyst and Deus Ex and Gears of War. I mean, yeah, but Gears of War, once I start seeing some of that, I'll probably be a lot more excited. But at the moment, there's nothing to get excited about, is there really? We haven't seen very much. If anything, have we seen some of Gears 4? We saw some at E3, didn't we?
We saw some at E3. We saw those two protagonists that we didn't really kind of know about, and those two non-Marcus people.
Yeah, that's what, it was like scary. It was like a scary area, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have seen some. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for more. I want to get. At the moment, for me, it's not shaping up to be as exciting as 2015 was, but it's early days. It's only 2 weeks into January. So
yes.
So yeah. I just thought it was worth having a look. Look to the future.
Excellent stuff. Superb. And speaking of looking to the future, it's now time that we head over to our VR news desk for the latest in the VR world.
Yeah, so what have we got on the VR desk today, Anthony? Do you want to lead?
No, you can. So you are our VR expert. I am just here for the ride. Go for it.
Wow. Okay. So we've had a report. The internet's been rife, really, hasn't it, with predictions about prices and moaning about the price of the Oculus. I mean, we discussed the Oculus's price last week because it had just dropped, really. The pre-orders dropped that day. And I thought it was a really good way of putting it. I forget if it was you or James that said, I think it might have been you, when you said if it had been an Apple product, everyone would be just like, yeah, fine.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, indeed. I think the thing was up until then, there was lots of speculation, and if you look at the speculation, it goes up and down the scale, from $299 to all the way to £1,000, and no one actually quite knew what these, how much any of these headsets were going to be. And then when Oculus came out at the price that they came out, I think it shocked a lot of people that they realised that this is tech, this is cutting edge tech, and it's going to cost. So it's just really interesting. It's just really the feedback that they've had. I mean, so much so that even Palmer Luckey on a Reddit AMA after they released the pre-orders has said, apologised for misleading people, because I think a lot of people thought it was going to come out at around about $300. So he actually apologised for misleading people with the price.
He didn't manage the expectation well, did he? Or Oculus, because they said they pitched it at around that price, but they didn't change it later on, and that is rather remiss. And he came out and said sorry for that. If only he just tempered expectation a little bit beforehand, it must have done the PR. It would surely have done the PR some good. Or is it just a vocal minority that are complaining, and actually it's going to sell in droves? I mean, we haven't heard any reports of it selling out, but he categorically said that it wouldn't sell out. He said that they could fulfill all orders, which I respect, and we had a little chat about that last week. I suppose it's fine. Like I totally agree that if it's an Apple product at that price, everybody would be like, yeah, that's fine. I suppose the only thing is that it's what you need on top of it, because you need to get a PC of a certain spec as well. So all in, you're probably going to be spending about, say £800 for the PC on top. You're probably looking at about £1,300, which still, there's probably iPads that cost that, isn't there? I mean, you know more than me the price of the iPads these days.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you went for an iPad Pro, if you went for the full biff to iPad Pro, 128 gig, you're not far from those realms. It's quite interesting. I thought I'd just have a quick look at shop.oculus.com, and you're right, they haven't sold out, but the shipping date now is June.
Oh, wow. And that's what they're going to do. I think I like that model. Rather than creating a massive furore of everybody, clawing at the internet to get them. I'm sure they're doing that anyway. But just to...
But the same thing happens with an Apple. If you weren't, crazy like me and were waiting at 8 a.m. for the Apple store to open for the Apple Watch, if you weren't there within the first half an hour to an hour of getting your order, then you were then, I think, after about an hour, if you didn't order within that first hour, it then went on to about 5 or 6 weeks after that, so they obviously had their initial batch for release, and then they just kept pushing out the shipment date. So it's a great, you're right, it's a great model rather than just saying, sorry, we haven't got any more, come back later type thing.
Yeah, it is a great model. So we've got some predictions now that Oculus is out there. We've got some predictions about the others. And we mentioned Super Data Research last week. They did some predictions about how VR will be taken up in 2016. And you can look at the show notes for the last podcast to have a look at that. It's quite a nice infographic and some stats there about that. But they've made another prediction, and they're suggesting that PSVR will not be too far from the Oculus price, which surprises me. They're estimating that the Sony PSVR will come in at $400 to it's a bit of a wide margin, $400 to $600.
Yes, I mean that's a really interesting kind of price point, and you're right. There is there's a lot of wiggle room there. So thanks very much, Super Data. But interestingly, Forbes reported that Amazon Canada actually listed PlayStation VR, didn't they? Temporarily listed PlayStation VR, and they listed it at 1,125 Canadian dollars, which is £500, 500 UK, £500, 800 US dollars. And then it was taken down. So whether it was just a placeholder or something, so it's very interesting. I know we've got, we'll talk about Vive in a bit, but I really think that Shuhei Yoshida, I really think Sony should really start coming out and start setting these prices now. I think now is the time when they need to just come out and say it's going to be this much. Because if it is going to be at $800, if it is going to be £500, then, just tell us now so we can kind of get over the shock. And then when pre-orders are there, we can just jump on the pre-order.
Yeah, it can't be right. I think it must have been an error. For that pricing, because the PlayStation 4 is nowhere near as powerful as the recommended spec that the PCs are to run Oculus. Yeah. So it's not going to be able to deliver an equivalent experience of Oculus.
Absolutely, and Palmer Luckey came out and said just that, didn't he, this week?
Yeah, he did. He said he said it's not as high end. He came out. He said, what was his quote? Their headset isn't quite. It's quite nice though. Their headset isn't quite as high end as ours. He said, and he said the PlayStation 4 is not nearly as powerful as the recommended spec for a PC. Yeah, he said exactly that. But go on, mate.
He also said I still think it's a good headset.
Headset. That's that's not the right terminology.
No, it's almost like
it's not good enough to be an HMD. It's not a head-mounted device. It's a good headset. It's like Turtle Beach.
That's when your son comes home with a drawing and you're like, yeah, that's really good.
It's really good,
when
dear.
Really it's crap.
Yeah. Now let me go and carry on with my Oculus. Yeah. What else did he say? There's not many people who already own a PS4 who don't own a gaming PC who are going to go out and make that investment in the Rift. So that's interesting. Yes. I think that's quite a blinkered statement to make. There's not many people who already own a PS4 who don't own a gaming PC. The people I know that own a PS4, admittedly worldwide, this is a big percentage. Most of them don't have a PC, and if they do have one, it's more for productivity, and it's in no way a gaming rig. In no way is it a gaming rig. So I don't know. I don't know where he bases that on. I don't know. It seems like a sweeping statement to me.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you only have to look at the kind of when we were having that discussion, last week. There was three of us on the podcast, you, me, and James, and one out of three of us really had a gaming PC. And it was quite funny that one person was looking more to a PS4, maybe kind of PlayStation VR. I think that's what James said, so it's interesting. So, I mean, when Vive comes out, that'll probably increase because that will be you and James that will both have gaming PCs and will make that jump. But I think that, and we said this a lot last week, that I think that the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation VR is going to be that safe jump for a lot of people. It's definitely going to be like, okay, let's just see what this is about. And when you stick that on and you're wowed, and then that's when you'll kind of look at that PC and think about making that investment.
Yeah, that's the cheapest point of entry for people to get the jump from the mobile virtual experience to sort of the console stroke PC sort of bigger experience that's got more clout, if you like. I just think that, obviously I can be proved wrong here, and I hope you agree with me, but I'd like to say there's no way that PSVR is going to be more than Oculus Rift. I don't think they could do it because, I suppose it could happen, but they'll have seen the shouts about Oculus's price from PC gamers who are more inclined, they'll spend the price of a console on a graphics card. So these guys have got some disposable income, your PC gamers, and their market is a gamer who's a little bit more thrifty or maybe doesn't have that amount of cash to spend. That's why they're on a console, because consoles are great. They're a set amount of money, and they'll last you. You don't have to upgrade it. It'll last you for the lifetime of that generation. So you've got your more not your more money orientated gamer necessarily, because we just love the games, but there's an expectation with consoles, and it's not in the realms of PC gaming and graphics cards and upgrading and things like that. And if they make it, they've said that the PSVR would probably be the equivalent of the console, and then we can debate what lifetime of the console or which console that would be that they're talking about. But they know the expectations there, don't they? They sort of. I get the feeling from that they have got a good idea that if they price it higher than a PS4, people are going to be turned off by that.
How can a peripheral be more expensive than the console? And I know that's a very blinkered way of thinking, because PlayStation VR is a lot more than a peripheral, but how can that be more than the console?
It's like sell it as a single unit if it was that, isn't it really?
Exactly. It really, if it's higher than £300, which is what you can pick up a PlayStation 4 for now, I think they're going to struggle. I think they're going to have a problem. And one of the things I think that a lot of people seem to be missing out, and we seem to be kind of not focusing on, is, at the weekend I was thinking about it. I was thinking about Oculus. I was thinking about a gaming PC. And one of the things that struck me is, I don't know what games are VR compatible. I don't know what games, if I picked up, I can't do it, but if I picked up Oculus tomorrow, okay, James kind of sold me on some really great games last week, but are there any big titles that I could then strap on my Oculus Rift and play?
Yeah, we listed a few last week, but it's funny you say that because Sony chief exec Kaz Hirai went on record on the 7th of Jan, and he said that there's going to be over 100 titles coming out for the virtual reality headset. So what he didn't say is whether that's going to be at launch, though.
Yes.
So
then
it's
they're
like,
never going to have 100 at launch, are they? Because that would just be too much.
It's all very well, isn't it? So it's
yeah.
It's like, what does this mean? It's just it's just words of wind, really. It's like, it's difficult. And regarding the price, I think it'll come out at $399.
Right.
And go a one cheaper than Oculus. But what that means for us in Britain is anyone's guess.
But what is the if I go to Amazon.com right now, what's the price in US? What is the PlayStation 4 on kind of Amazon.com? Let me just have a PlayStation 4 video games. It is currently $349.
Okay.
So $349, it's about £300 in the UK. So that's a 500 gig console, is $349 in the US. Surely that's got to be the price point.
You'd think that would be the limit then, wouldn't you? That they wouldn't go more than $349. Maybe just to make it seem not, just to make it seem a little bit sweeter, they'd knock it down a bit. So 300 would be the round figure, wouldn't you? That you'd expect $300 then, which might convert to us in old Blighty as about $250 or $275. Yes. So we'll see. And that price point, that's an accessible price point in my opinion. I think that's for a whole new experience. It's pretty good. And
you buy two.
Well, it's going to support four people.
Well, exactly.
Because I think it links to the controllers or something. I think it's going to support 4 HMDs. I might be wrong there. I might have to do a bit of research. But I'm sure that it supports 4 HMDs. But only one would be playing and other people will be watching or something. Right. I could be wrong on that one. So, yeah, it's just interesting about the prices. And then we've got Vive, on the other hand, it was always reputed to be more Vive because it's technologically more complex.
Right.
So Vive has been has
a front-facing camera now as well.
It's got a front-facing camera, and it's been sort of nudged, and pretty much received as like that's the premier one. That's going to be the most expensive. Doesn't mean it's going to be the best. Reports that I've read say PSVR. There's something about the way that it renders that it's a brilliant experience and it surpasses the others.
Wow.
But let me just try and get my thoughts together. PlayStation 4 isn't as powerful as the recommended specs for its PC virtual reality counterparts. Mm-hmm. Now, I suppose that doesn't necessarily mean that the engineering and the technology within the VR has to be cheaper, because maybe it could do something that's like more whizzy. So you can't just say that definitely will be cheaper because it's cheaper to develop, because we don't know the ins and outs of it. But I'm expecting, and I hope that you'd sort of lean with me on this, that because of the price, the point of the console, then it has to keep the price of the VR peripheral down with it, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. Like I say, if you think, the average rig for Oculus is about $1,100, so they've kind of that's the price point that they've hit. That's the percentage that we need to kind of get to, and it's an interesting one. Like I say, I don't think, again, I would struggle. Even though Vive, it looks meatier. It looks like a real kind of I would struggle if that was more than Oculus. It's quite interesting. IGN have actually put up a comparison between PlayStation VR, Oculus Rift, and HTC Vive. I'll stick a link to that in the show notes. But it does, when you were saying about that, it could be a better image on PlayStation VR. That may be because the refresh rate is 120 hertz on PlayStation VR, where it's 90 on the other two. Saying that, the resolution on the Rift and the Vive is greater than the resolution on the PlayStation VR.
Yeah, I think refresh rate is very important, because if your refresh rate is too slow, you start to feel sick and get headaches. But I believe that the minimum, so that the human eye doesn't get annoyed with that sort of thing, is the 90 level. Mm-hmm. So they all hit the 90, and then it's like, is there a big difference if you've got that 120 edge? Does that make it a lot smoother? I think it may do. I think it may well do, and this may be why I read reports that say, yeah, it's just really nice and smooth in PSVR. And then it's like the resolution difference, because you're so immersed and you've got it so close to your eyes. Will there be a discernible difference when you go from the 1920 1080 screen that you've got on the PSVR, jumping to that 2160 by 1200 resolution on the PC counterparts? Time will tell, won't it? I just can't wait for, first of all, get the flipping prices out for all of them and get them all out there, and let's all be able to have a play. It's going to be so good.
So when are we pre-ordering Vive? When's the Vive available for pre-order?
Well, that's the brilliant news, is that they've announced, HTC Vive have announced when the pre-orders are going to go live, and they're going to ask us to leap into VR with them on February the 29th.
Oh, so not long.
Yeah.
Really? Kind of,
no.
Just over a month and change.
Did you see what I did there?
I did.
Oh, all right. Hooray. I thought it was just really quaint, with doing it on the leap year day. I didn't even realise it was a leap year until I found out when HTC Vive orders were going live. And I was like, oh, wow, it's a leap year day.
That's so cool.
So, yeah, it's going live on the 29th. And I'm pretty much, say hand on heart, on February the 29th, which is not a podcast day, thank goodness, I will be pre-ordering it.
So you're going for it. You're going to do it.
I'm going to get it.
So that gives PlayStation, as I say, a month and change maybe to try and get out alongside it, or whether it's letting these two big boys with their expensive prices come out first. Because if Oculus came out $599, Rift comes out at $699, and then PlayStation VR goes, oh, by the way, you've already got that PlayStation under your TV, $300, it's yours, John.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they let the dust settle with the PC rivals, kept quiet, because they may consider that, and perhaps rightly so, as a completely different market from what they're going for. Your PC VR people. Keep quiet. Let them have their day and their little bit of rivalry. They're expecting to release the PSVR, they say, by the end of first half of 2016. So it's looking like end of June. I'm expecting it. Just keep quiet, let the dust settle, which will give them more impetus, won't it? Keep sort of an enigmatic edge, and then when it gets to sort of closer to release, they'll get more glory, won't they? Because the buzz is divided. If they all come out fairly at the same time, PSVR is going to have to share. I mean, it might not be a bad thing, but sharing the buzz that's getting shared between there'd be three all out together. So I suppose they'll make a call. I'm thinking it'd be kind of a wise move to let them have their little glory, basking in the shared glory between Vive and Oculus, let the dust settle, and then come out with a bit of a bang for console users with the PSVR. And maybe they'll have learned some lessons from the other launches, and maybe added some new features. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
And it gives the developers time as well, doesn't it, to get more of those 100 titles that are coming closer to completion.
Absolutely. Do you know, it really surprises me. It really surprises me with this that Xbox is not in this mix.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're being quieter still, aren't they? But with Windows 10 and the universality, if you like, of Windows 10, and the fact that they're packaging an Xbox One in with the Oculus, an Xbox One controller with the Oculus, I suspect. I mean, you can use Oculus with the Xbox One at the moment, but it's sort of like you need the PC. So yeah, but it's ridiculous.
But for me, if I didn't have if I didn't have a PlayStation 4, I am an Xbox gamer that is fully Mac'd. Yeah, so I have a MacBook Pro, I have an iMac, I'm fully Mac'd. That would count me completely out of this. Now I know that I'm a small demographic. If you're doing a Venn diagram, I'm a very small section of that. But I'm still a demographic that could potentially miss out completely on VR unless I make a big change. Unless I buy a PC.
Is Oculus not compatible with Mac at all then?
I don't know. On the Oculus pre-order site, it just had PC, so it was checking your PC. It did not say anything about Mac.
Interesting. I'd never thought of it because I'm not really. I only have my iOS devices. Yeah, and I sort of hope that they're working on like a separate Oculus that's going to work with Xbox.
Is that a big E3 reveal? That was similar to backwards compatibility.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
Here's Viva Pinata, and it's available for you can play it on Oculus now.
Well, how would you feel?
I would never leave that, by the way.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So imagine if you're Phil, and you're seeing these VR technologies, they're rearing their heads. It's getting closer and closer. Surely you'd feel pressure. Sure they must be working on something. On the other hand, it might just be let's wait and see. This could fail. Let's just watch. Let's just watch. Yeah. If it succeeds, we've got the resources, we've got the cash, we can jump on. But let's just watch the battleground to see what happens. Maybe they're doing that. Yeah. But yeah, an E3 announcement like that'd be a bit of a standing ovation, wouldn't it? If they did it well, yeah. They could do a PSVR thing, couldn't they? They could say it's not. Or against all of them, they say it's not going to cost $600.
Yes, yeah.
It's not going to have a separate whatever. Something about the PlayStation 1, PSVR. It's not going to need this. It's actually going to be free with your Xbox Live subscription of $40 a year.
We're shipping it to you
today. Every single one of you that's subscribed for 10 years or more has one on its way to you right now.
And it comes out with VPVR. I'm still smiling about that. I just imagine being in the why isn't James on the podcast this week? I just imagine kind of playing Viva Pinata in VR.
It suited well. That you could be up at the top, like looking down as a god, doing your stuff, and then you could shrink down and walk around.
Yeah, no, I want to just walk around and and pet my Galagugu and be with my Hostachio.
At last, yeah. You will never come out.
Oh, that's it. That's me done now. I'm just like,
yay!
Oh God, that would be my happy place. Honestly, I would never leave. So I guess that's it, isn't it? That's our VR news desk this week. So we've got Vive coming out pre-orders in February, and so that's about it for this podcast. So thank you very much for listening to this podcast. Don't forget, you can keep up with us at gamersofalostspark.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, we're Lost Spark Pod. On YouTube, you can also find us on the PlayStation 4 community, which is Gamers of a Lost Spark. Darren, where can we find you online?
Yeah, you can get me as Wythamator on PS4, Xbox One and Twitch, Dazagamer on YouTube, and at Daz Whittam on Twitter.
And for me, I am Chessman on Xbox Live. I'm PS-Chessman on the PlayStation Network and Chessman UK on Twitter. If you have any feedback, please send it to our email address. That's feedback@gamersoflostspark.com. And also, if you're feeling generous, please leave us a review on iTunes. It helps the podcast get noticed, and it also gets us onto that important main page. And speaking of reviews, it's worthwhile just taking a moment. We've had some fantastic reviews over the last couple of weeks. We've had a couple of reviews on iTunes. We had a review from someone who I just think has the best name, which is Tweed Elbow Patches.
That was you.
It said, really enjoying the Lost Spark podcast. This is now a highlight of my week. Thank you very much, Tweed. Really enjoying chuckling along to Anthony and Darren. Always fun. You can tell these guys know and love gaming. So, which was fantastic. 5-star review there. We also had one from Cockney MFC, which was great unbiased reviews on all the latest games on all formats, with a bit of old school and fun thrown in the mix. So, thank you very much. We also had Gaming Sage, was always current, always fun. These guys know and love their gaming. Hail the Sparks. Hail to you too, Gaming Sage. So thank you very much for those reviews. We're really chuffed, and that's really lovely. Don't forget, you can leave us a review. There is a link at the bottom of the page if you haven't already done so. So that's about it for this week's podcast. So catch you later. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks for the reviews. Thanks for your time, and bye-bye.